Got it. And then Jane?
Can you strike TGIF, please? And can I change my officer report to verbal, please?
Got it. And Taylani?
Hi, can you strike the SVC programming fund, please?
Okay. And then Sarah?
Hi, can we strike that, please?
Okay. And then I'm also going to strike one of the appointments because they haven't gone through ARC. It's Campus Programs Committee. Brian Moreno Alvarez. I think we're good, Breeze. I don't know.
Okay, perfect. We need a motion to approve the agenda. Is there a motion?
I move to approve the August 9th agenda.
Awesome. Can I get a second, please?
I second.
Taylani motions, Armand seconds. All in favor, please raise your hands. I'm waiting for 2 more folks. Moment of prompt. Going once, going twice. I'm gonna assume she's not here. Can I just do, would it be 12-0-1, Josh? Okay, there you go. Perfect. By a vote of 12 to, and I saw Sarah, your hand was raised earlier. So by a vote of 13-0-0, the agenda is approved. Great. Moving on to the approval of the minutes for, I believe, let me check the date. It was July 26th. I hope everyone had a chance to review the agenda for that day. Can I get an approval? Motion to approve.
I move to approve the July 26th minutes.
Awesome. Can I get a second, please?
I second.
Jane, wait, Taylani motions, Emily seconds. All in favor, please raise your hands. I'm missing a couple of people.
Breeze, I'm abstaining because I wasn't here last week.
Oh, okay, no worries. Perfect. By a vote, it's 12-1-0, right, Josh?
The middle one is declined, so it'd be 12-0-1.
12-0-1. Perfect. By a vote of 12-0-1, the motion passes and the agenda for July 26th is approved. Great. Moving straight into public comment. So public comment are 30 minutes allocated for the public to get the opportunity to speak once. Remember the importance of challenging ideas, not individuals, using gender inclusive and respectful language. Freedom of speech does not mean freedom from accountability. And each speaker will be given the opportunity to speak for 2 minutes and the opportunity to speak once. Please remember to not use any dehumanizing language. With that, we are going to go ahead and start public comment. Council members, please lower your hands. And if any member of the public would like to speak, please go ahead and raise your hand, and Cassandra, our IVP, will go ahead and promote you.
I don't see anyone, but we do have one submitted public comment. It's also in the drive.
Okay.
I'm gonna link it in the chat. But I can read it. This is submitted by Jeffrey Umana, and I'm just gonna read the entire thing. Hello, everyone. Thank you, Madam President and members of the council. My name is Jeffrey Umana, and I address you tonight in my capacity as the IDEA's internal representative. I want to first thank you, Madam Internal Vice President, for your courage and strong display of active allyship in reaching out to ideas to bring this matter to council. Sadly, it is a role I wish more of your fellow council members have taken per their promises to the undocumented community during the campaign. In any case, I urge all council members to sign on to the statement of solidarity before you tonight. The recent DACA decision impacts undocumented communities in ways that extend far beyond the economic and the academic. It represents yet another time that the immigration system in America continues to place politics over immigrant people's very own humanity. In this time of crisis and uncertainty, I ask that you all sign on to this statement to urge the UC and UCLA to take the steps necessary to ensure undocumented students have the resources not only to retain in school, but to live and carry lives of holistic wellness. Council has a responsibility not as the undocumented community's voice, but as their ally to take every step within their reach to help push our community's needs forward. I also ask that you take the statement's words to heart and actively use your platform and offices to aid our community and fulfill your commitment to help advocate with us to ensure we have what it takes to live the lives we are entitled to. This statement is a first step. We demand action next. Your vote tonight is significant and we will remember just the way it plays out. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Going once, going twice for the remainder of public comment. Seeing as there is no more public comment, we will be ending it at 7:09 p.m. Great. Moving straight into allocations. Jenny? Hello. Capital contingency. Okay.
Hi, I'm
Oh.
sorry, I'm on
No
top right
worries.
now. Nothing for capital contingency. For contingency programming, we have 3 USAC entities for a total of 1,550. I sent the allocations around. There's only one event that's in person. It's going to be a retreat, but they got supervisor approval beforehand, so I thought it would be safe, and it's only about 15 people.
Jenny, will you go ahead and put it in the chat, please?
Yes, sorry, let's do that.
Okay, awesome. Can I get an approval, please? A motion, sorry.
I move to approve the $15,550 to 3 non-USAC entities. Is that correct? The language?
Yeah, I think it is. Josh, correct us if we're wrong. If not, we will be moving forward. Can I get a second?
That is correct at this moment.
Okay. Can I get a second, please?
A second.
Was that Prom?
Haley.
Haley, okay. Tay motions, Haley seconds, sorry. All in favor, please raise your hands. Awesome. Jane?
Sorry.
No worries, Jane. By a vote of 13-0, the motion passes and capital contingency funds are approved. Moving on to contingency programming, Jenny?
Oh, sorry, that was for contingency programming. Capital contingency, there's nothing.
Oh, Josh, do I have to stay the motion again?
No, because at the very beginning, she said there was nothing for capital contingency and she moved on to contingency programming.
Okay, perfect. So The motion passes and contingency program is approved. Great, moving on to SFS allocations.
Actually, I forgot to start that from the agenda, but there are no SFS allocations this week.
No. Thank you, Momina. Okay, perfect. Moving straight into, ASRF and AAC Travel Grant Mini Fund. Cass, Angie can't be here today because of an emergency, so we will be striking those. Great. Okay, I think that concludes funding. Great. We'll be moving straight into special presentation, starting with the USAC Expenditure Viewer presentation. I believe that is Lindner, or have they been promoted already?
I promoted Jacob Linder. Yeah. Oh, Pasta, if you want to do an introduction, since this is your agenda item, you can.
Yeah, so Jacob is correct me if I'm wrong, third-year computer science student who worked in previous general representative offices to develop this really great tool that will hopefully help us as council and also the student body better understand the budget and also interpret it. So take it away, Jacob.
Thank you, Pasa. Okay, I'm going to share screen here. Okay, yeah, so I will be presenting the USAC Expenditure Viewer. Okay, so some of you may know the annual USAC budget is nearly $10 million. So that's a hefty amount of money. So some questions come up. With that $10 million, is USAC being transparent with it? If they are, where can I go to see how they're spending it? Where does USAC get that $10 million and what's it being spent on? Is that $10 million being spent efficiently? Is there any ways we can make it more efficient? Any things we can cut? Any items we can cut? Is there anything that's being underfunded? And are our student fees being put to good use? Because a lot of that money does come from student fees. And so after much hard work, the solution to that is the USAC Expenditure Viewer. So a little bit of history with the Expenditure Viewer. It began a couple years ago. It's seen two generations of Gen Rep offices. I actually presented the Expenditure Viewer to last year's council. Many of you probably haven't seen it, but last year's council seemed to like it very much. So hopefully you will as well. So I will detail what the Expenditure Viewer can do and what we hope for it in the future. So some of the features of the Expenditure Viewer is if you look at this graphic here, you can see that all of the USAC budget data from the 2002 to 2003 to the current year, 2020 to 2021, is currently available on the budget viewer. So you can see all the past year's history as well as the current history, and then any future expenditures will also be added to this. So what's cool with that is you can compare the current year to previous years. You can see any trends that are happening, and one of the biggest most powerful features, in my opinion, is what's called the keyword feature. So what this does is, if you've ever looked at the USAC expenditure reports, they can be hundreds and hundreds of pages long of line items. So what this keyword chart does is it essentially takes the line items that are most frequent and it will display it based on size. So for example, if you look and you see the maintenance, you see the maintenance keyword, and it's pretty big. So you can see a lot of money is spent on maintenance, but in the top in the middle, you see the very small text that says bus. So you can infer that probably not a lot of money is being spent on buses. Something else you can sort by is you can see when the money was spent. So what's interesting is there seems to be a lot of spikes in January and in May, and then at the end of the academic year in July. So maybe you're interested, what is this big spike in January? Where's all that funding coming from? So you can filter to just January. Basically, one of the big goals with the expenditure viewer is there's so much data that we want you and we want the students to be able to filter to the specific data that they want so they can view it more efficiently. One of the other features is you can view the size of the transactions. So you can see there's a couple very large transactions, $270,000, that composes maybe 12% of the USAC budget. And then there's a lot of very small transactions too. So the smallest transaction looks like just maybe a couple $100 maximum, and this composes 26% of the budget. So let's say you want to look at some of the charts, but you don't want it to be completely overtaken by those really big items. You just want to see what composes the smaller things. So then you can filter to smaller transactions. Okay, one of the other features is you can view a pie chart of the funds, and you can actually see where the money comes from. So what you get is you get these big pie charts, and you can hover over each one of the slices. And so, for example, membership fees, if you hover over that, you see it is $1.1 million comes from membership fees. And then you can both get a visual, or you can hover over and get the specifics for the other funding sources. And if you click on any of the slices, it will actually filter to, it'll filter the data, so it'll be just those specific things. So let's say you click membership fees, all of the data that shows up in the other charts and in the table itself will be the money that came from membership fees. So let's say you come into the budget viewer and you think, okay, I pay my USAC fee. How exactly does that specific money get funded? And you can view that through a feature like this. Something else that's important is the general ledger. And you see here this big item called special fee remittance maybe takes up over 60% of the pie chart. Special fee remittance is money not directly spent by USAC, but that USAC is delegated to oversee. So let's say you want to filter by the money that's not directly spent by USAC, or maybe you want to look at the money that is spent by USAC. Then you would click on one of these other filters to see that. So as I alluded to earlier, one of the cool features is you can use all of these different features to filter to the data that you specifically want. So for example, you can choose a keyword, and then maybe you choose the keyword maintenance, and then maybe within maintenance you want to see everything that's all the small transactions within maintenance. Or like this graph shows, you can see the years 2019 to 2020. The total expenditures for that year is 8.7 million, and then you can filter to the membership fees, which is $1 million, and then within that you can filter to, let's say you don't want the entire academic year, you just want the academic year from January, and then that'll filter to this $668,000 that remains. And then all of the other charts that you have, for example, this division chart, which is the entity that oversees these funds, you can see the entities that oversee the funds from the beginning of the 2020 year to the end of the academic year that are spent by membership fees. So, which can be interesting. And in addition to this more high-level data that's supposed to give you sort of a overall general sense of how the budget is, if you want to get more into the particulars, you can actually look at the raw accounting data, and you can see here there's 4,400 items. This is for the 2020 year. This is for the 2019 to 2020 year. So you can scroll through all of the raw accounting data that we have. And then something you can do with this is, if you see in the top right, I searched for pizza. This is the 2013 to 2014 year. The expenditures were 5.1 million. And you can search for something like pizza, and so we get 8 results, and the sum total that was spent on pizza in that year was a little over $1,000. So you can see how that money was spent. And then you can kind of compare that to other years. So for example, a couple of years later, 2019 to 2020, we look at the same term pizza. Now we see 25 items, and we see that the sum is $10,000. So you can do some interesting comparisons that way. Okay, so that's sort of an overview of the features. And then those initial questions I had asked about how do we view all of the data, all of the budget data, those sorts of things. There are some other ways to solve the problem, and that includes creating graphics. So some of you might have seen some graphics that were made of, there's some graphics that break up the entire USAC budget and expenditures into a pie chart, and one of the pie chart actually is that special fee remittance pie chart, but instead of special fee remittance, it says like funds that are delegated by USAC. So that's one way to solve it, and with that you can make it look a little bit nicer than you can with maybe the raw with this expenditure viewer. But at the same time, with the expenditure viewer, with the graphics, whatever graphic you want to have, you have to draw out that specific graphic. The idea with the expenditure viewer is that you can yourself make any graphic you want. So something I forgot to show is within these filters, if you look at this URL at the top, you can send this URL to people and they can see the exact filters that you have. So let's say this division graph right here, let's say you're like, campus events commission, that seems like a lot of that seems like a big slice of the pie. Then you can create this specific graph here and you can send that to people. So with graphics, the expenditure viewer can do what the one graphic can do, but can allow you to make your own graphic. And then we have the raw expense reports, which just have all the huge raw accounting data. And the cool thing with the USAC expenditure viewer is it has the features that both of these things provide, plus more. Plus, so you can still see all that raw data that's in the expenditure reports, but you can search through it like I showed you with the pizza. Okay, so what are some lasting effects that we hope to have with the expenditure viewer? Some of you might remember it wasn't so much of a big issue last year, but a few years ago there was some issues. There was some talk about USAC transparency in terms of their budget, and that's actually kind of what inspired this the creation of the expenditure viewer. So hopefully the primary goal that this is supposed to address is show that USAC is very transparent with its budget. All of this stuff has been available through those budget reports, but those budget reports are hundreds of pages long, and the average student is not going to get a whole lot out of that. So the goal of this is not necessarily to show all this data that we've been hiding, but to make it more digestible for students. And hopefully that'll come with that as the second point, better communication between USAC and the student body. So hopefully if the students better understand how their money is being spent, they can better articulate they can better articulate how they want their money to be spent, or rather than just saying, oh, USAC spending all this money, we can say, well, we have this expenditure viewer. So if you want to know how that money is being spent, you can look here. And then hopefully that'll also lead to student engagement as well, and better USAC sentiment. So if the students are more involved in the process of maybe looking through the expenditures, and that allows them to give more input for future budgets. So hopefully if they're more involved in the process, then there'll be more sentiment towards USAC budget and USAC as a whole. And then easier access to financial data during USAC meetings. So not only is this for the general students, but hopefully this is a tool that you guys can all use during your USAC meetings. Like maybe you want to spend a lot of money on a certain program or a certain event, and you want to know, should I spend this amount of money? Well, you can look at past year's budgets and see, okay, past years they spent this amount of money on certain events, so I can allocate the amount of money I wanted to. And this is also useful for people in accounting. We've worked a lot with people with admin, accounting admin, and the accountant that does the USAC accounting gave us a lot of input. And this is actually useful for them, even though they're trained to look through all of those long hundreds of pages budget reports. Seeing something more easier to digest does help them with their job as well. And then finally, hopefully receiving feedback from all of you and receiving feedback from students will help make this will allow us to know what we should improve, what we should change to make it even more accessible to students in the future. Okay, and then finally, where is the expenditure viewer right now? So just as of 1 week ago, last Monday, it is now available through the USAC website, and so I will be showing you how to get there, and we'll do a little tutorial with all of you very shortly. So yeah, it's newly released. We're ready to receive feedback from you and from the students. And then next steps is we are looking to pass a bylaw, not this meeting, but the next council meeting that will hopefully make this a permanent fixture within USAC. Just so it doesn't get forgotten, left behind, because we spent a lot of work on it, and hopefully it'll be useful as well. And so we can talk more about what that looks like after the tutorial. But I've been in the last stages of this. I've been working with PASA, the Gen Rep 2. So we are thinking of, I think it would be easy to have it housed in that office, but we are open to feedback, and we can, if you, we can maybe talk about that after the tutorial. Okay, so finally, here is the tutorial. So to get there, all of you, the idea is hopefully all of you can follow along. You can just go to the USAC site. So the USAC site is at usac.ucla.edu, as hopefully you all know. So I'll give you a moment to get to the site. And then from there, you go to the funding tab. You click funding. And then on funding, you see this item here that says Expenditure Viewer on the right side of your screen. So usac.ucla.edu, funding, and then Expenditure Viewer. And you click this, and it will open you up to your Expenditure Viewer. And the first thing that will pop up is the list of years. So as I said before, we have 2002 to 2003, all the way up to 2020, 2021. So 2020 to 2021, we're not done with the year yet. So we only have a couple months worth of data. 2019 to 2020 was COVID, so data might look a little asynchronous there. So just for example purposes, feel free to click whatever date you want, but I'll just use 2018 to 2019 because that's a full regular year's worth of data. So then you get to see some cool things. You see that the total budget at the filters up top, 9.1 million. You see there's 4,003 line items, total of $9.1 million. Okay, and then you have your description tab here. So on the, if you ever want to change tabs, change this UI that you're viewing, you can click on these tabs up top. And I will be doing a little walkthrough of a couple of them. And then if you actually want to view the raw data, you can hit this view table button, and this shows you all of the raw data. And then you can hit click view graphic to go back to graphic. Okay, and then as I said before, I think description, there's it shows sort of an overall high-level picture of some of the stuff. So let's say I want to look at food. So I hover over food, 283,000 spent on food. So I can click this, and then you can see up here on food, it's added to your filter. Okay, so I'll let you all click whatever you want. If you want to remove a filter, you just click it, and then it removes it. And then what you can do is actually you can go a couple layers deep. So you can click food, and then maybe you want to see food that was maybe like drinks, and that will filter to food and drinks. And so now we have two filters. We have food 283,000, and drinks 15,000. And actually now if I go back to the table, it will include all of these things that are food and drinks. So it looks like some casino nights, $122. You can see when the data was inputted. So yeah, and then some other things you can do is, let's go back to our food. So you can click on the drink. Let's remove drinks. Click it to remove it, and then we can go to post the date. So this looks interesting. It looks like a lot of the money for food was spent in May. So that's curious. So maybe
Jacob,
yeah.
Sorry to cut you off. We have a really long agenda, and we do only have a 10-minute presentation time for a 5 minute.
Oh, okay. I will. Yeah. That's fine. You can all play around with the expenditure viewer, and I guess I'll cut this off. And then do we have time for maybe some feedback, questions, things like that?
Yeah, we have a 5-minute Q&A.
Okay, we will do that now then.
Yeah. So council members, if you have any questions, go ahead and raise your hands, and I will go ahead and call on you. I did have one thing to bring up. I think that because, Gen Reps, the office there's a different Gen Rep every year, right? So it can't be sustained within the Gen Rep 2 office because who knows who will be elected to that position next year, right? Because it's based on like whoever wins those 3 Gen Rep positions. I think that, a good office, and I don't know, Emily, if anything, like I think that connecting with the FSC would be a really beneficial thing to do at this time. Just because they do handle all that aspect. I don't know, Emily, your thoughts?
Yep, I was about to say that. Sounds good. We can definitely talk about that.
Awesome. Okay, I will shoot you an email then.
Awesome. Any other council members have questions? Em?
Hello again. Great job, Jacob. Looks very cool, very comprehensive. I was just, maybe I didn't see it earlier if it is there, but I was wondering if you'll be writing up a like type of instruction sheet in case students to help with like the parts which you can click on and other things that maybe might not be intuitive.
Yeah, actually there, if you are on the Budget Viewer page, if you scroll to the bottom, there is a link that says video. So if you click video, it takes you to a YouTube tutorial video that details the features of the Budget Viewer.
Cool, thank you. Also, I thought the description visual graphic was very cool. I was wondering, does that also account for multi-word phrases, or is it just single word?
Well, how it works is let's say a line item says, like it said food and drink. So it'll take so one line item can have multiple different, can fit into multiple different categories based on what it says. So if it says like food, drink, and travel at Hawaii or whatever, then it will feed into the description keywords that say food, drink, travel, Hawaii.
Cool, thank you. Looks great.
Awesome. Do any other council members have any questions? Going once, going twice. If not, thank you so much, Jacob. We are looking forward to connecting with you. Awesome. Okay.
Right. Thank you.
Of course. Moving straight into the transfer awareness training. Erman, you have the floor.
Thank you so much, Breeze. If we can make sure that Kayla Lamb is promoted as my amazing co-facilitator. And then one thing that I did want to ask, I wasn't aware of our fun little 10-minute requirement. And so I wanted to ask council if we were okay with my presentation going up to 20 minutes. That was the length that we had intended. So I just I don't know if that's something that we have to vote on, or if we can do that, but that's something that I wanted to ask because I know that just came up for Jacob's presentation.
I think that is something that we would vote on.
So if everyone agrees to the 20 minutes, there's no need to a vote. If there is a disagreement, then you need to vote and the majority would then win.
Cool. Is there anyone that doesn't want us to go to 20 minutes? Okay, cool. Thank you all so much. Really excited to talk to you about transfer advocacy today. I'm going to go ahead and start sharing my screen here. Okay, yay. Amazing. We're gonna start off really soon here. I just want to contextualize this presentation by saying that this is sort of my office's entry point to sharing about transfer advocacy information and resources to council, but that we really hope and expect that transfer advocacy from our fellow council members really does go beyond things like presentations and trainings, and goes into material advocacy and support for the transfer community. But we're excited to be here and talk with y'all today about transfers. to start with some introductions for the student body in terms of transparency, because I know all y'all know me, but my name is Edmond Ruiz Chavez. I use he, they, and L pronouns. I am a rising fourth year, second year transfer studying ethnomusicology and comparative literature, and I am the TSR. And I'll pass it off to the amazing Kayla Lamb, who is co-facilitating with me.
Hi everyone, I'm Kayla. I am a rising senior, also second year transfer, and I am majoring in political science and minoring in public affairs, and I am the director of student activities.
So yeah, typically our presentation will have like an interactive component to it, which we will come back to for the types of trainings that we hope to give for sort of individual council offices. But this is something that we encourage everyone to keep in mind when it comes to conversations about the transfer identity and the identities that we ourselves hold when we interact with the transfer community.
And these are just some goals that we have. So one goal is to become aware of the identities of the transfer community at UCLA, the UC, and beyond, to better understand the systematic barriers to access that exist for transfer students, as well as to develop and incorporate action items that support transfer students.
Thank you. So this is just a group of questions that we would like everyone to consider as we go through the rest of this presentation, to sort of be aware of the context that you're approaching this information with, critically reflecting in your role as a council member as to what your personal background with transfer students is. Something for you to keep in mind as we go through this presentation, because it will help you sort of confront any of the information or assumptions that you may not have known as we learn more about the transfer community. I think one of the things I especially want council members to keep in mind is what it means to support and center transfer students in your particular offices and projects in each of your commissions and offices.
Okay, and here are some statistics. Keep in mind these are from 2019, and we will be updating it with the 2020 statistics soon. But there are about 6,000, a little over 6,000 transfer students currently at UCLA, which makes up about 22 to 27% of the undergrad population. And 93% of them come from California community colleges, while others could come from four-year institutions. And 47% of incoming transfers live in UCLA housing. So we do depend a lot on on-campus housing and those resources to help with our living situation. And the average age is about 23, which is a little older than the traditional like direct entry students. And about 15% are over 25. So those are non-traditional students. And 44 to 48% of these transfers are first generation college students. And you'll see that we have a lot of intersectionalities within our committee.
Yeah, and despite the amazing statistics that Kayla shared, we do want to be really clear that transfer students can come from any of the like specific identities that we shared, as well as the identities that we're sharing here, as well as identities that may not even be listed. And so I want to be really clear that there should never be an assumption about the identities that a transfer student may hold, because of the fact that there are so many avenues to getting to the university that transfers may take. So just to share a little bit from my personal experience, I am an out-of-state transfer from a four-year institution. And that is something that has impacted my transfer experience at UCLA, despite the fact, that the majority of transfer students, as we know from this information that Kayla just shared, do come from California community colleges. And so there are a variety of identities that transfer students may hold, particularly intersectional identities that are important to consider, and mean that those are things that you should be keeping in mind when you think about things like transfer advocacy and the types of students that make up the community of transfer students at UCLA.
Okay, and this is our transfer triad. So if you all don't know, there are three main like organizations that really focus on transfer advocacy work, and one of them being our office, the USAC TSR office, but then we also have the Transfer Leadership Coalition and the Transfer Student Center. And these three different organizations, while they have their own roles, they really just play a huge part in supporting the transfer community at UCLA. And just a breakdown of more of the Transfer Leadership Coalition. It is a student-initiated, student-led, and student-run organization. It's not affiliated with SOL, so they are their own entity and they have more of a liberty to do kind of their own thing and really support transfers to the max that they can. And then the Transfer Student Center, that's just the overall center that students may be first directed to, because it is the hub for all transfer things. And for both the Transfer Leadership Coalition and the Transfer Student Center, they're both located in Kirkhoff, but they are also both created by transfer advocacy work. And a lot of these things that we see right here wouldn't have happened without the advocacy from students and all of their voices banding together to demand for representation, as well as just being able to feel comfortable and safe on campus.
Thank you so much, Kayla. So just to elaborate a little bit more about this history of transfer students at UCLA, I think it's really important that we keep in mind that transfer history is fairly recent. We only really have 11 years of transfer programs and 6 years of even the TSR position that I hold being at UCLA in general. So the transfer student program was created under the Bruin Resource Center, which we all know and love, in 2009. And the whole advocacy of creating the TSR role in 2014 led to the birth of the Transfer Leadership Coalition, and thus led to the establishment of this position in 2014. Then there was advocacy for the Transfer Student Center to become its own center in 2017. So this is something that the TSR and the TLC advocated for together. And then recently in 2019, there was a lot of advocacy for the transfer officer position in UCSA. So we've only had that role in UCSA for a couple of years. And then I do want to clarify that there are also other offices under student affairs that exist to support transfer students, including the Center for Community College Partnerships, which specifically exists for outreaching to underrepresented low-income CC students to really empower them to transfer to the university. And so this is an example of how retention and outreach of transfer students occurs in these particular spaces. And you should be aware of CCCP and the TSC and the TLC, in addition to my role when it comes to the sort of network of transfer organizations at UCLA.
Okay, and next we have UC Transfer Resources, and we really focus on transfer student centers, or a type of transfer resource center at these UCs. But as you can see here, only 6 of the other UCs have a transfer resource to offer, an actual center. And you can actually see that some of them, such as UC Davis, combine different communities into one, which kind of makes it harder for both of those communities to get the right resources that they need. But there is a note that the UC Davis student government, they just added a transfer representative. So that's like a big win. But out of these 3 UCs that do, out of the 6 UCs, only 3 of them do actually have transfer centers, which is something that we should focus more on a UC-wide basis, just because transfers do make a large like sum of the undergraduate population, and sometimes they come onto campus feeling like they don't know where to start, and usually transfer centers are the first thing that they should go to.
Thank you so much, Kayla. One thing that I think is also really important to keep in mind is that the transfer community at UCLA is often why transfers decide to come to UCLA in the first place, even if they are admitted to other UCs or other universities. And so even though we really acknowledge the work that UCLA has done for transfer advocacy, we also want to acknowledge that there is advocacy more broadly at the UC level that needs to happen. So continuing this understanding of the UC level, we understand that Prop 209 eliminated affirmative action, as we all know, and the whole UC system did see a steep decline in diversity numbers, especially in UCLA and UC Berkeley. So outreach efforts were created to compensate for this drop in numbers, but it's really important to keep in mind that there were not outreach efforts for transfer students that were created when Prop 209 happened. And Triple CP, which I talked about a little bit earlier, was what was created to sort of address that issue for transfer students beginning in 1999. But just to focus on some of the numbers on the screen here for Prop 209, it passed in 1996, and we saw an immediate decline in the admission rates for Latinx, Black, and Native American transfers. And then looking at the 2020 admits for Latinx and Black transfers in particular, we can see that the percentages of those admits have been nearly halved since 1996 and are starting to really stay at this lower number. So we can sort of see how Prop 209 in particular did impact transfer admissions and the access of transfer to UCLA for these underrepresented groups. I do want to make a note in particular that Asian and Pacific Islander students are not included in this data because that information, due to the research that was conducted, is aggregated, and it would give a false narrative for those specific communities on campus. So we did want to focus on the data that does give us an accurate picture of what the effects of Prop 209 were.
Okay, and then next up we have some academic challenges and obstacles. So transfers, we do face a 2-year time constraint, and that creates a lot of limitations for us. We have to overcome either familial, financial, social, and cultural barriers, and a lot more listed down, which I won't read all of them because of the time constraint for this training, but we also have to face a graduation rate that we might not graduate on time. Some or most 2-year transfers, the graduation rate is 70.9%, while 4-year direct entry students' graduation rate is 82.3%. And there's also restrictions on changing majors or adding majors. And adjusting to the quarter system is something that heavily impacts a lot of transfers because we go from a 16 to even 18-week semester system to a 10-week system. And we also have to find and navigate campus resources, which most of the time we're not that familiar with just because we are thrown in 2 years after direct entry students. And we had to balance different responsibilities such as families, jobs, finances, even commuting. And we also do have financial issues that we are, or additional responsibilities. And on top of this, there is a new obstacle, which is COVID-19. The pandemic has brought additional barriers for a lot of students. And a lot of that is going to be at second waves of things such as transfer shock and imposter syndrome, which we'll talk more about in the next few slides. But these are just some of the obstacles that transfer students do face when we are adjusting to a new institution. Okay, and transfer shock refers to the tendency of a temporary dip in GPA when students transfer from one institution of higher education to another, and students may take longer to graduate than those who begin their undergraduate career at a 4-year university. And transfer shock may happen for a number of reasons because there are many differences between the community college and the university. Just as with culture shock, being in an unfamiliar environment and learning to navigate the skills, tools, and resources available, people tend not to perform at their highest levels. And with COVID-19, we could see a second wave of this because we've already adjusted to the online system, but then now we have to adjust to a new system of being either a hybrid format or a totally in-person format of a new university that we have only 1 year left to figure out how to navigate. Some additional social challenges and obstacles, it's feeling overwhelmed just based on time management, again, fitting everything into that 10-week time constraint, as well as the 2-year time constraint. There is a big lack of a sense of belonging and feeling that they matter to the university, just because we do have a very diverse community, but it's often unmentioned. So we feel like we are alone or we're not supported. And again, imposter syndrome, which is feeling like we don't belong here or we aren't as good as our peers. Meeting and connecting with other peers is also something that's really hard, just because we are thrown into a new institution halfway through the year or halfway through the undergraduate career. And it could be hard just to reach out and feel comfortable in this new environment. And one of the biggest things, or one of the biggest social challenges, is overcoming the community college stigma, some of which maybe we only got here because community college was easy or not challenging enough, and that we aren't smart enough to succeed at UCLA because we went to community college, none of which are true. These are just all stigmas, and it's really hard to explain ourselves over and over again just to new students because of the stigma that might be traveling around and creating additional barriers for us.
Thank you, Kayla. So one of the things that I would just love for you as council members to keep in mind is to sort of like reflect on your own about the things that stood out to you, things that you didn't know, things that really impacted you based on the information that we shared, and for you to think about how you maybe feel empowered to bring those things up in your capacity as council members when you find yourself advocating for transfer students or in a position where transfer students may be disproportionately affected in some way by the things that you do. And yeah, we're going to transition to talk a little bit about supporting the transfer community, and then we'll wrap up.
Okay, so important things to consider. Understand that not all students are direct entry students, and use transfer inclusive language, such as calling incoming students first year transfers or third year students, not freshmen or just plain old first years. Recognize the validity of our past experiences, skills, attributes, and knowledge. And also be mindful that we often have many other responsibilities on top of just being a student. And this could include our other jobs, families, commuting, etc.
Yeah, I really want to emphasize as well, changing the culture and how we really want to change the receptiveness for transfer students. So to actively work to be our allies. So really pursuing those tangible measures that support transfer students, supporting things that are brought to the table either by myself here on council or in other UCLA spaces that support transfer students. The second bullet is really important. Asking yourself, am I including the transfer's perspective when you're making important organizational decisions? And if you find that you are not, or you're not able to answer that question, you have really easy access to me for supporting for these sort of council specific matters with transfer students. Reach out to us, yes, to my office, but also to some of the other transfer entities that we've mentioned for support and advocacy, recognizing transfer students as intellectual equals, and again, really assisting in our advocacy for institutional change when things happen that disproportionately affect us, being there to stand alongside us and demand what we need as well.
Okay, second to last thing, but what can I do to be an ally? So you could be an active ally where there's active actions referring to tangible measures that include or support transfer students. And some examples may be changing bylaws, adding transfer roles, or including transfers in spaces other than the transfer position, A passive action refers to ideological measures to include or support transfer students, including asking yourself the transfer perspective question that Irman just mentioned, or thinking about transfers when making a decision as simple as a social media post or an event.
Thank you, Kayla. So I know we have our 5-minute Q&A, but before I stop sharing my screen for that, just really want to quickly share this quote. If we ignore transfer students, we are continuing to disadvantage many students who have been disadvantaged their whole lives. As something for you to walk away from and keep in mind. And then finally, just to share some of the TSR socials, which you should be aware of, hopefully already, but also this internal TSR email here is Kayla's email as my director of student activities. She will be reaching out to you regarding these sorts of trainings for your office, sort of more extensive, so that your communities can also be aware of these issues. So I will say that please be aware and responsive for when Kayla reaches out to you in the future. But yes, any questions, we are happy to address.
Thank you so much, Arman and Kayla. I want to start off by saying that y'all did an amazing job, and it was really good to recap. I know Zuleika had last year presented a very similar during our USAC retreat, and it was very informative. So thank you so much, first off. I don't know if any council members have any questions. I don't see any questions, a lot of thank yous, but I don't know who. Oh, Haley, there you go.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask really quickly, thank you again for the presentation. When you mentioned potentially having someone come into our offices to present this presentation, is this something that can happen during the school year or later in the summer, whenever y'all are available? Because I'd love to have that presentation.
Yes, absolutely. I'm so happy you asked this. I'm actually gonna pass it off to Kayla so she can talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah, thank you so much. So I will be reaching out towards the later end of summer / the beginning of fall, just so each of your offices can get situated with your own committees and your own staff. And I will be hopefully sending out emails in the beginning of fall quarter, reaching out and asking if you do want a presentation for your entire staff.
Thank you.
Amazing. Okay, awesome. Any other council members have any questions? Going once, going twice. If not, thank you so much, Kayla. Yeah, we really appreciate you coming. I don't know, you're free to stay. It's gonna be a long night. I don't know if you want to stay, but as long as you want to stay, thank you so much. Awesome. And thank you to Arman for bringing this forward. We really appreciate all your advocacy. Great. Moving straight into appointments. I see Hannah. Hannah, I believe you're going to be appointing an Osac individual, Jocelyn, but I think that they need to be promoted first. Jane.
Yes.
Is that yours?
Yeah, Hannah's not able to be here today, so I'm just going to read.
It's 8 o'clock.
Wait, can we go ahead and promote Jocelyn? Or yeah. Cats. Okay.
Yeah, I'm promoting right now.
Okay, and as a reminder, before we go into presentations, the individual gets a 1-minute intro. We have a 15-minute Q&A and a 1-minute closing. Council members, if you can, please feel free to turn on your cameras. Just want to remind everyone that this is a very intimidating process to do, and staring at black screens is not the best thing to do. Also, please engage. We have a lot to get through tonight, so please make sure that you guys are asking questions and being active participants with our appointments. And finally, I want to remind y'all, because I saw a couple of you have, but if you haven't submitted your written report yet, please go ahead and do so. If not, I will be calling on you when your time comes later tonight. Awesome. Okay, Jane, you have the floor.
Okay, awesome. So this is from Hannah, the Osac chair. So one of the main goals for OSAC this upcoming year is to make sure that every student organization on campus is aware that this is an allocation year and is able to work with OSAC to meet their space needs. Joy is going to be a major part of this undertaking as she uses her graphic design and social media skills to grow OSAC's online presence. We've worked with Joy for the last year in FAC, and she was the graphic designer for FAC last year, and she's really good at it. And she is definitely a diligent and thoughtful person, and she will make a great complement to the committee and as we make important space allocation decisions this winter. I will pass it off to Joy.
Hi, I'm Joyce Lemieux, also known as Joy, and I am a cognitive science major entering my 4th year at UCLA. That being said, my true passion is art and graphic design. I took photography and painting classes for all 4 years of high school, which established my foundation in design and composition. However, I fell out of my passion after starting college. I entered UCLA as an undeclared major and spent most of my first 2 years here trying to figure out what to do last year. I've done my part to elevate FAC's presence on Instagram and create graphics that are not only engaging, but meaningful as well. Therefore, I have both the talent and experience to bring OSAC and all of its resources to the student population. I plan to develop a cohesive brand to generate recognition, interest, and engagement with OSAC. I have experience with outreach research and am committed to collaborating with MOs, transfers, DSU, and every other student org that deserves to have space on campus and in Kirchhoff. And as we transition back to campus, students will know about the resources available to them for a successful return, and I will make sure of it.
Love the confidence. Awesome. Any council members have any Q&A? I actually have a question. So I'm thinking right now, right, especially with the graphics that you will probably be producing. Back has amazing graphics. Want to start off by saying that. But I do want to ask, like, what do you see kind of being your role this upcoming year, right, in informing students or especially underrepresented students that might not have adequate space allocation, right? What do you plan to do on that end to, I don't know, promote like, oh, our office will be working with students, any student orgs that might need the space?
Yeah, so I actually have experience in outreach research through my work study position at the Center for the Study of Women at UCLA. And we have done a lot of targeted outreach to student organizations in particular. So I'm very familiar with the Seoul Student Organizations database and specifically collecting emails of signatories and reaching out to clubs to establish that primary line of communication. So I definitely see myself using those skills in OSAC, and in particular, like really putting the onus on OSAC and us to reach out to student organizations, mother organizations, and really putting in the effort to make sure that they are a part of the decisions that we make when it comes to office space allocations.
Amazing. Okay, I will now pass it off to Arman.
I actually think Haley had her hand up first.
Okay, so Haley, then Arman.
Thank you. I'll also put the question in the chat, but how will you go about coordinating space allocation and the use given the uncertainty of the pandemic's effect on our ability and safety as a campus community to operate in person this next year?
Yes, so as a part of improving communications, improving OSAC's communications specifically, a large part of that is planning on promoting safe indoor space usage and maintaining our place on campus alongside allocating space. So making sure that we have a sustained return to campus and really targeting the students and individuals that have been most impacted by the pandemic and making sure that we use a more holistic approach towards space allocation.
Amazing. Arman?
Thanks. Hi, Joy. It's good to see you again. I would just like to know what you think will be the biggest challenge that OSAC will have to face in this upcoming year, and how you think that you will try to overcome that challenge.
That is a good question. as I'm sure we all have learned from the past year and a half, we really cannot expect the biggest challenges that we will encounter. I am assuming, though, that a lot of the challenges will come from trying to negotiate and moderate the intersection of many student identities through organizing space in Kirchhoff. And I don't believe I've stated this yet, but I think communication is really important. So really trying to take a place as not someone who is managing space in Kirchhoff, but more so like working with and organizing. So really trying to work as a unifying force instead of kind of a, yeah, like I said, managerial force, just so we can kind of try to mitigate any conflict that might arise from different clashing student identities.
Awesome, Maya.
Hi, Haley took the question I initially had, but I will ask a different question. What are your main goals for OSAC for the upcoming school year?
Yes, so one of my main goals is developing a brand book and social media presence for Osac, because I think a big part about making the resource known to students is having them recognize it as recognizing how powerful it can be for students and student organizations. So really creating the recognition of OSAC on social media and among like flyers on campus and whatnot. So students won't have the questions of like, how do I reserve a room for late night meetings? Or like, did I miss allocation deadlines and stuff? I really just want them to know immediately who they go to for these things and where they can reach us through. And another goal that I have is making sure that OSAC is communicating as much as we can to the students as well, like letting them know about any programming that we're doing to support student organizations, as well as communicating with them about the changes and updates we are planning to make regarding resource management and any other changes we would be making to Kirchhoff and student organization space usage.
Awesome. Any other questions for Joyce? Going once. Going twice. Okay, Joyce, you're free to give your closing statement.
Awesome. So at the end of the day, I believe that USAC and OSAC are some of the most powerful tools that we have as students to shape the way we experience UCLA. And there's no better time than now as we return to campus to reshape the community. And communication is key in this. Marginalized communities deserve to be heard and respected in their needs. And while I can't do anything about admin, I can do my best as an OSAC committee member to listen and uplift transfer students, disabled students, and all the students represented by mother organizations in their right to be represented physically on campus.
Awesome, love that. Okay, great. Going straight to ARC.
I am pulling up the results. One moment. Okay. From ARC, 3-0. ARC gives a positive recommendation. We really appreciated the story that she shared about finding her love for art and design, and we hope that she can do that within OSAC. And we also know that she did such an amazing job for FAC last year, and we know that
had like its own brand like FAC does. Yeah, I'm just excited for you. That's all I have to say.
Awesome. Any other council members like to add anything? If not, we can move straight into a vote. I guess I'll say something really quick. Joyce, you have like a little fan base here, so feel free to work with us at any point this year. We're really excited to see what you do. Great. Okay. Can I get a motion, please?
I move to appoint Joy to the Office Space Allocation Committee.
Can I get a second?
I second.
That was Tay, right? Okay. Jane motions, Tay seconds. All in favor, please raise your hands. Waiting on one more hand. Perfect. By a vote of 13-0, the motion passes and Joyce is appointed to Osac. Congratulations, Joyce. We look forward to working with you this year.
Thank you.
Awesome. Okay, moving straight, Emily.
Hello. We have Geronimo Thomas here as our prospective appointee for the Campus Retention Committee. And I think without further ado, I'm going to let Geronimo introduce himself.
All right. Thank you guys so much for having me. It's great to see a lot of y'all's faces familiar. My name is Geronimo Thomas, rising third year political science major, hopefully trying to pick up AFAM, but I really wanted to be a part of the campus retention committee because I think education has been a big part of my life. I've seen a lot of the benefits of it coming up as a kid. And now that I'm in this space and I've had opportunity to give back through all sort of levels of education, I've seen how even to the collegiate level, retention and helping other student peers is of the utmost importance. And so when Simone Anderson, my president for ASU, reached out to me and asked if I could be part of, if I wanted to be a part of something like this, it was a no doubter because at the end of the day, I think what I've seen is that with these retention programs, I wouldn't, frankly, a lot of us wouldn't be here without their help. And so I've learned that personally too. And to be on a committee like this and serve as sort of a representative for them or like a connection so that they know that more than anything, I can share the needs that they want expressed to the greater general body. That's perfect for me because at the end of the day, I think it is of the utmost importance that these retention programs are getting the respect and the attention and focus that they need, individualizing things for them so that they know that we're not just trying to apply band-aid resolutions to everything for them. I want them to know whether it's one specific retention or the other, that they know that at the end of the day, I care for them individually and I care as a collective. And I want all of you guys to know that through that, I'm obviously not just like gonna do it all by myself, but I think just the message that this takes a community, I'm all here for it. And hopefully if I get appointed to it, I would love to commit myself to the work to make sure that these programs that have helped us shine continue to be able to thrive.
Awesome. Okay. Thank you so much, Geronimo, for the introduction. Can I get any questions that council members have? Perfect. I think that was an old hand from prom, so I'll pass it off to Tay.
Awesome. Hi again. I just wanted to ask, like, what are some of your goals for CRC in the upcoming year?
I would say for the upcoming year, I think one of the biggest things is that I want any retention program on campus to feel that they have a sort of instant rapport with me and other membership on the community, just because I feel like it's often so hard for student leaders when they're dealing with their own programs to feel like they can, when things have to be taken to another level, that they have people who are willing to listen to them and are actually applying that sort of insight that they gain and trying to improve things after these people tell about the issues that they're facing. So like that's one of the biggest things, because I've experienced it where it's like I'm expressing it, but no one wants to help. But so I want to change that sort of culture thing. On top of that, I really do feel like I want I want to apply pressure to a lot of higher ups on behalf of the student programs, where it's like, in any way that I can, if I can email somebody, if I can sit down with somebody and speak, no, I don't want to say on but their behalf, because I'm a part of these programs too. So it's kind of like, I want to speak with them. I think that's a better term. But more than that, like, that's my second goal, where it's like, at the end of the day, if I have this foot in the door, metaphorically, I want to use it as much as possible. So I would say, like, that's my biggest thing, because I would say any sort of meeting and communication is worth a shot in my book. And so why not use that opportunity? And if I strike gold, then I strike gold. And if we get some change just because we were able to speak, then I'm all for it.
Amazing. Jane, then Armand.
I think Armand had his hand up first.
Okay, Armand.
Thanks, Jane. Hi, Geronimo. It's good to see you again. I was wondering if you could share a little bit about what you believe to be the intersection between retention and transfer students, and how you believe CRC may have a relationship with supporting the transfer community.
He didn't just freeze for me, right? I was like, oh, I see other people moving, so it's not me. We can wait.
Well, he says his computer just died. He'll be right back.
Okay, for sure. Okay, I guess 1 minute break if y'all want to stretch or something.
Breeze, for the sake of time. Oh, did he come back?
Yep, I just came back. I am so sorry, y'all. I got
No
some
worries.
in the house. I didn't realize somebody had like messed up the cord. But anyways, I remember the question, Armand. I am so sorry that took a little detour. But when looking at retention programs and the intersectionality with transfer students, I think the greatest thing to keep in mind is that so many transfer students that we have on this campus are people of color. And so when looking at our retention programs and how to most effectively address helping all of their membership, you have to consider the transfer experience, not just academically and the nuances that that comes with, but socially, because as you stated with your presentation, there are so many wrinkles to how the transfer experience is so different from the conventional experience that if I wasn't keeping in mind as a member of the committee how to uplift transfer voices, then that's a large swath of the retention program membership that we would be neglecting. And so any sort of input that transfers offer us as a committee and me as a member of that said committee, hopefully, that in turn would help elevate the efficacy of our retention programs on UCLA's campus.
Awesome. Thank you. Jane?
Hi, it's nice to see you. I just wanted to ask, like, how will you be approaching like dealing with difficult admin, and how do you think that council can support you and CRC in general when dealing with administration?
I think USAC could help me and the committee when dealing with administration when it could get to difficult flashpoints if not just verbally, but with its actions in any way that it may manifest, but they show support with student committees, because I think we all here have dealt with difficult administration, but I think the biggest thing that sticks it to administration is when the student body shows that we're one cohesive unit, we're all on the same page, that we understand the greater goals in mind, and that administration isn't going to scare us. And so I think that's one thing. And on top of that, in my personal experience, I would say USAC being a supporting body, for me, it would definitely look like offering resources, showing the ins and outs of like how to deal with these things, people I could talk to, groups I could reach out to, et cetera, because I think administration thrives off the notion that a lot of their student leaders are coming in fresh, and that we have the passion, but we don't have the very technical things down. We don't have those little tidbits of knowledge where we know how to navigate certain things. And so I think it goes back to being on the same page, but when we help each other out, and I would love to do it vice versa, but when we offer those nuggets of knowledge that show that you don't have to learn this, you don't have to go through that learning curve or have a baptism by fire, basically, of becoming an effective leader. I think that for me would greatly help in the committee executing its duties.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Any other questions from council members? Going once, going twice. If not, you are free to give your closing statement.
All right. I want to just thank you guys so much for letting me hold this space, and also being accommodating and understanding, because I know communication for me was difficult for a long time just because of some personal things in my life. So I thank you guys deeply for still giving me a shot, because yeah, it means a lot. But at the end of the day, hopefully I'm gonna be able to be a part of the committee. If not, that's still okay. I'm gonna still be around helping any way that I can. And at the end of the day, I think we all know it doesn't matter if you're on a committee, it doesn't matter if you're a part of membership, it's the passion, it's the drive. And at the heart of it, my passion lies in uplifting and empowering our students who keep us here, who keep future Bruins here. And so I want to continue to help that. And if that means it's on this committee, that's great. And I can't wait to continue working with y'all. And yeah, thank you guys so much once again.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Geronimo. We really appreciate you coming forth to council. Great. Okay. Can I hear ARC, please?
Yeah, ARC's decision 32020. ARC gives a positive recommendation for Geronimo. We believe he has the strong vision and passion for CRC, and we definitely think he'll do an amazing job next year. And yeah, does anyone want to add?
I can jump in really quickly. absolutely think that Jorvo is like 100% perfect for this role in CRC. I think he's demonstrated so much passion and also experience in the way that he advocates for fellow students, no matter what their identities are, how much he cares about the UCLA community and making sure that the students that need it most get to succeed at this university that tries to keep them out. I also think specifically when it comes to the transfer community, Geronimo is one of the most amazing transfer allies that I have ever met. And I know that he understands what it means for transfer students to experience retention as well. And so, yeah, I think Geronimo is really amazing. And I hope you all vote yes for him.
Amazing. Any other council members? Going once, going twice. Awesome. Okay, so we will move straight into a vote then. Can I get a motion, please?
I move to appoint Geronimo Thomas to the Campus Retention Committee.
Can I get a second? Who seconded?
Me, promise.
Okay, awesome. Irman motions, Prom seconds. All in favor, please raise your hands. Awesome. And by a vote of 13-0, the motion passes and Geronimo is appointed to Campus Retention Committee. Thank you so much, Emily, I know you went through a lot going through that, but we really appreciate you sticking it out. And Geronimo, thank you to you as well. We really look forward to working with you this year and holding administration accountable. Awesome. Great. Moving straight into Green Initiative Fund. Miss Jane, you have the floor yet again.
Yes, hello. I'm going to pass it over to Rachel to introduce Cheryl.
Hello. So Cheryl is a rising fourth-year econ major, public affairs, and environmental systems and society minors. She was on Tgif last year, so she has a lot of experience, knows what Tgif does well, what they don't do well, and need to improve on. She's also the director of operations for Clean Consulting, which is an org that is focused on encouraging sustainable practices within companies and corporations. So she brings a lot of good experience into Tgif, which is definitely necessary for something as important that handles as much money as Tgif does. So yeah, I'll pass it to Cheryl.
Thank you. Hi friends, so nice to meet y'all. My name is Cheryl. And yes, I hope to be a grant making committee member for TGIF. I am a third-year student majoring in econ, minoring in public affairs and environmental systems and society. And my pronouns are she, her, and hers. I wanted to repeat the three things I'm studying again, just because I think that they really encapsulate what's known as the 3 E's of sustainability, which are environment, economy, and equity. And the last E, equity, I think is oftentimes overlooked when defining sustainability. So when I joined TGIF last year, I'm still continuing to be proud of a lot of the work that was done, specifically emphasizing the intersections of justice and sustainability in all of these different projects, whether it was through the Student Support Fund, which compensated students for their labor and sustainability projects, through creating the communications team, which was providing much needed accessibility and transparency to the process of applying and receiving TGIF grants, or funding all sorts of different equity related initiatives like CalFresh in Ackerman or the Pandemic Relief Fund, and all sorts of projects that might not follow along your typical definition of what is green, but they're absolutely essential to what is sustainable in the future. So with that being said, yeah, TGIF, I think I'm really proud of the work that we've done, but there's still so much work that needs to be done in order to center equity, transparency, accessibility, and justice in all of the work. And so, yeah, I hope to be able to be a part of that in this coming year. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Cheryl. Okay, council members, Q&A period. Haley.
Yeah, hi Cheryl. So my question for you is, what are some of your long-term goals and visions for TGIF?
So long term, I hope that when we say the Green Initiative Fund, we aren't just thinking about green things like surfing and plastic straws. We're also thinking about sustainability in the form of like what a sustainable future is, whether it's accessibility to healthcare or education or equity of all forms. And so I think that incorporating that, especially because TGIF is literally student money, and it is like something that like will only be advocated by students for students if like we fight for it. I think that these like larger justice oriented goals need to be there, but then also logistically there needs to be like more transparent process, because the amount of students that are literally still in my personal like Instagram DMs who don't know about their requisition status is like super frustrating. And I can imagine that a lot of this information is really difficult to access and understand. So making sure to expedite that and make that as transparent and accessible as possible. I also want to say this right now. I would love to create a group chat with all of the people who are in different like funding bodies so that we can like talk to each other and like meet every once in a while and make sure that we're like funding things together. So if anyone else is interested in doing that with me, please hit me up, because I'd love to spearhead that and just have like a centralized space where like if a student needs money, they know every single option to get it. And there is like, I don't know, something like, I don't have it all figured out, but I think that that is like definitely a big long-term goal of mine. Yeah.
Awesome, thank you. I believe Maya had her hand up, but y'all can correct me if I'm wrong.
I can go. I don't know.
Yeah, go ahead and go.
All right. Hi, Cheryl. So my question is, what do you foresee some of the challenges with TGIF being in the coming year, and like how do you plan on navigating them?
Yeah, so TGIF changed a lot in this past year, and I know that it really overloaded SGA and FICOM. Like we created the Student Sustainability Support Fund, which was amazing. I like fought really hard for it, and I'm still very proud of it to this day. And it like essentially compensated students who were working in sustainability leadership for their labor, but it also created hundreds more rec forms. Oftentimes like recs were being written by students who didn't understand the funding process at all. And so I think like just overcoming these institutional barriers is something that I hope to be able to do next year, just like having the knowledge of how like the ins and outs of how TGIF and the rec process works to make it so that ideally like there is just a place that you can go and like you can enter in your rec number and you know the exact status and like the estimated time that you get your money. Because like I was on TGIF last year and I was still confused sometimes about like where money was. And so I think like the logistical stuff isn't as pretty to talk about as like the equity and justice and accessibility stuff, but it's just as important. And yeah.
Awesome, thank you. Jane, did you have a question?
I was actually, it was kind of similar to mine, so I'll come up with it. You went to like for, I guess in general, their sustainability like reaches a wide range of things. Like it could be energy or like fashion or anything. And like, what would you say that you're personally most passionate about, or is there an aspect of sustainability that specifically interests you the most?
That's such a nice question. Thank you. So I hate to say this, but I like so I didn't believe in climate change growing up. I grew up in a small town in Missouri. And what changed my life was like this trip that I took. Well, it was a volunteer work project, and it was sponsored by a club at UCLA, and in part through TGIF. But I worked for a summer in Costa Rica on a turtle hatchery, and in the daytime we like planted trees and like did permaculture, and then at night we like released baby turtles into the ocean. And it's like the most like, I don't know, it's like a really small thing. Like obviously the amount of trees that I planted that summer were nothing compared to the carbon footprint of my flight. And like when I'm thinking about large like scalable impact, that was not it. But like that trip really made me fall in love with the planet, and doing like local work with like my hands in the ground was really awesome. And so I hope to like continue farming for the rest of my life. And I think just like the like learning to like breathe with the earth and like live with the planet in harmony was like really beautiful. And so I've got to say like those turtles changed my life.
That was such a wholesome story. Does anyone have any other questions?
Yeah, I'd love to jump in.
Okay, go ahead, Sarah. You have
Okay. Awesome. First, love a good turtle story. Second, love that you brought up the 3 E's of sustainability, like economy, equity, environment. So with these 3 pillars in mind, can you elaborate a little bit more on what exactly you're looking for and prioritizing when making your allocation decisions?
Yeah, so economy is obvious. Like we are a giant body of money, like more money than I probably will ever touch in my life. And like it's terrible, but like so much of these projects, like just the bottleneck is like a lack of funds. And environment is obvious too, like it's in the name, like we have to fund something that is beneficial to the environment. But I think like especially next year, something that I will continue to emphasize when making funding decisions and like hopefully like I don't know if given the position and if other students on the board agree, like it would be like centering equity more and more. I think the biggest issue is that the types of groups that apply for TGIF are the types of groups who have done it in the past and like years prior, and they're all the one, you know, like the clubs that you like clearly have a sustainability related mission of like renewables or backpacking or surfing or whatever it is. And so there's a lot of organizations who should access TGIF funds because their mission relates to environmental justice and just like don't know that they're allowed to access this giant body of money that is like going to help their project and benefit sustainability in the future. So I think that one thing I would love to emphasize is like more outreach to different organizations that don't just have green in their name. And then also make an emphasis in allocating funds to these organizations as well to establish that precedence of like, you could come to us, like that's the whole point, is like giving money back to the people and back to the students. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. Any other questions from council members? Going once, going twice. Perfect. Okay. Cheryl, you're free to give your closing statement.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you everyone for your time today. I know these meetings go so long. I have so much respect for every single human who can like stay on and like active and vigilant and like even want to ask me about my hobbies and stuff. So that means a lot. And I know for a fact that I would not be where I am today without TGIF. I mean, I mentioned this earlier, but I didn't believe in climate change. I worked for a coal company. My first internship was at a coal company. And then I came to UCLA, and everywhere I walked, there were sustainable events, and everyone around me cared about like the future of our planet. And it was super life-changing. And a lot of these things were done with the support of TGIF. And I really think TGIF is like one of the coolest things that I will probably ever be able to do in my life. And it's just like, I don't know, it's so amazing and inspiring. And it's definitely helped me a lot. So I would love the opportunity to give back. But yeah, I feel like sustainability focused environment, like the environment that we've created at UCLA where people care about the planet in such a bigger picture is really awesome. And so I hope to be able to use the institutional knowledge that I've gained throughout this past year to speed up the requisition process so students can guarantee that they receive their funds on time. And I want to emphasize outreach, like I mentioned earlier, to groups that might not know that they qualify for TGIF funding. And then finally continue to push for things like transparency reports, office hours, and making sure that people that the money is going back to students in the most equitable way possible. So yeah, thank you so much for your time again.
Thank you so much, Cheryl. I personally really enjoy your story. Great. Okay. Moving straight into ARC.
Okay, 3-0 ARC gives a positive recommendation for Cheryl as TGIF. Something that I was impressed about was just like her good lens with like social justice and sustainability, as well as like logistical work, because I know that like as IVP, like sometimes the logistical work is like overlooked, but it's super important. So I think that would do like that would just have a good balance within like TGIF. And also I really loved your story about just like coming to UCLA and figuring out like your love for the environment and everything. And then does anyone have any more comments from ARC?
I do. I don't want to take up too much time. I just had to say that I love the way that you speak with so much conviction. It's so moving and it's so inspiring to hear how passionate you are. And I really hope that you can like stay in this field. I can see you doing like some big boss moves and sustainability in the future after you graduate. So yeah, I'm just rooting for you. And I think TJF is lucky to have you.
Awesome. Any other council members would like to add? Going on? Oh, okay.
I just wanted to say, Cheryl was laughing because she knew I was there. I am always so in awe of you, Cheryl, and the work that you do, and just like how much you care about the work that you do. And like you've talked to me about TGIF and like the things that you've wanted to change, and just like reasons you want to return. And I'm just so excited to see this new year and what you do, and like just like how you continue to make it a space where students can like come and find like funding and resources in order to also like push forward sustainable goals. So I'm just really excited. You're absolutely a trailblazer. And yeah, everyone here doesn't even know the half of it. And you're absolutely amazing. And I feel very blessed to have you also working with me. And yeah, so if I could vote yes, I would, but I'm gonna abstain. But I do, yeah, I just wanted to say that. And thank you so much for being here.
Y'all are making me want to cry tonight. These are so wholesome. Awesome. Can I get a motion, please?
I motion to appoint Cheryl Ma to the TGIF, Initiative Fund.
Can I get a second, please?
I was gonna say a second.
Okay, Promise motions, Maya seconds. All in favor, please raise your hands. Okay, I counted 11. All abstaining, please raise your hands. Okay, that's one. All against? Sarah, I didn't see your hand go up, sorry. Do I count that as an abstain, Josh?
Someone chose not to vote. Yes.
Okay, so by a vote of 11 to 0 to 2, the motion passes. And sorry, I'm blanking right now. Cheryl is appointed to TGIF. Congratulations, Cheryl. Okay, awesome. Great. Moving straight into the next. Jane, you have the floor again.
Okay, I will give it to Rachel again. Is Maddie. Sorry for the mess, everyone.
Hello, so I'll be introducing Maddie Wilson. She's a rising fourth year environmental science major with minors in atmospheric and oceanic science and Spanish. And she is one of the co-directors for SAR, the Sustainability Action Research Team. So she works with the Office of Sustainability, Facilities Management, etc., and has a lot of experience working with like admin, faculty, and staff, as well as various student leaders, which is really important for the sort of diversity that TGIF serves. And I'll pass it to Maddie.
Hello, everyone. My name is Maddie, as Rachel introduced me. Pronouns she, her, hers. I'm an environmental science major with a minor in atmospheric and oceanic sciences, and also Spanish. I became involved in sustainability as a kid. You know, my parents taught me how to compost. They taught me how to grow our own food. And at the time, I didn't really realize that this is getting involved with sustainability. I thought that's just what we did because it was easier and more accessible for us. And I think that's what really like draws me to sustainability, is this idea that it's something that we practice every day and we might not realize it. And I think that's really what drew me to TGIF, is this idea that sustainability is accessible for all students and all people, and TGIF serves as a resource for students to get more involved in sustainability at UCLA. So I'm really interested in reaching out to a lot of different organizations and students who may have never even heard of TGIF before, getting them involved and showing them, how TGIF serves as a resource for them to take steps in sustainability at UCLA.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Maddie. Any council members have any questions, or moving into the Q&A period? Please raise your hands. Jane, we'll go ahead and start with you.
Okay, I will ask the same question I asked Cheryl, which was like within sustainability, like what are you particularly passionate about or most interested in?
That is a good question. Okay, I feel like I just have to say zero waste. Last year, I was in part of sustainability action research as well. Now I'm a co-director, but last year I was a team lead, and we studied zero waste and how we can make it more accessible and for students. And that was a really just an eye-opening experience to learn more about how like students' experiences with zero waste and how they like view it. Just like is like quite a common experience that people view it in very like a white upper class way. And, zero waste can really be like reusing things in everyday life. And so I feel like it was really just interesting to hear a lot of different students' perspectives within zero waste. And yes, like Jane said in the chat, Kiki is amazing from facilities management. But I think something I'm like learning a lot more about is equity, diversion, and inclusion, and how I can incorporate that more into the teams we create in sustainability action research. So that's an area I'm definitely learning more about as I continue to study.
Awesome. Haley?
Yeah, you kind of touched on this already, but if you want to expand, how do you think that your experiences so far at UCLA have like shaped your understanding as to how to best serve the student body through this role?
Yeah, that is a great question. I feel like, especially within SAR, I've heard so many different students' experiences, as well as like perspectives from faculty, as I continue to be a co-director and like creating teams. And I feel like something that I've really tried to do is like take a step back and like listen to other students. Where are they coming from? How accessible is it? How easy is it? Like, is this sustainability something that like they see that themselves being involved in, or something that they can even start to become more involved in? And so I really just tried to like learn from my peers, especially about like equity issues when it comes to sustainability, and how like different sustainability projects can impact different communities differently. So really like learning more about environmental justice and becoming more involved in that, not only through like my classes as an environmental science major, but also just like listening to my peers, listening to faculty members who have different experiences than I.
Awesome. Taylani?
Hi, Maddie. So I love during your ARC interview, you talked a lot about equity, inclusion, diversity, and how sustainability kind of incorporates those elements, are big fundamental like cores of sustainability. So my question is like, how do you plan on using TGIF to outreach to different student organizations that may not have either encountered TGIF before, but still have elements of their org that have like sustainability components to it?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think first and foremost, like all the student body is able to apply to TGIF, which is so great about it. And I think like that poses a very exciting challenge when it comes to like reaching out to different students on campus. And I think that really means like starting at the very beginning of school year and reaching out to a lot of different student organizations, so different student clubs, whether that be through social media, whether that be through email. Additionally, reaching out to different departments that maybe traditionally are within the Institute of Environmental Sciences, and really just promoting what TGIF is, what it is, how it's there for them, and promoting not only like just promotion, but like the message that we put out there, that sustainability is accessible and that it comes in a lot of different forms, and that some of these organizations, some of these students who may think that their projects don't apply to sustainability actually really do. So I think really just the message that we put out there at the very beginning of the year is super important, and just really PR as much as possible through email, through word of mouth, through clubs, etc.
Awesome. Any other council members have any questions? Going once, going twice. If not, we will move straight into your closing statement, Maddie.
Yes. First off, thank you so much for having me here. You all are amazing and asked some great questions. I think just overall, my goal with Tgif is really to increase accessibility to sustainability at UCLA and continuing. I think last year Tgif did a great job at bridging the gap between justice and sustainability. Continuing on that path, I think additionally, like really increasing transparency to the student body and show them, you know, where is Tgif funds going and in what areas of sustainability are we like making a difference. And then I think also just communication with, the student body and, you know, where their projects are, and then also like what Tgif really is. And then along that note, I'm also really excited to work with additional departments within USAC and to really work with like fellow committee members and, you know, hear their experiences, learn more about what they see Tgif accomplishing in this next year. So thank you so much for having me here.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Maddie. Moving straight into ARC.
Yeah, ARC gives 3-0 positive recommendation for Maddie because she has such a broad understanding of sustainability and what sustainability can be at UCLA, whether that's through increasing accessibility to Tgif through student org outreach and everything. And another thing that I thought was super cool that she mentioned in the interview is just how Tgif can be a space where anyone that wants to like get involved with sustainability can. Yeah, and then does anyone from ARC want to say something?
I'll jump in real quick. I just wanted to, I really appreciated, Maddie, how in your ARC interview you articulated the like specific transfer entities that you could outreach to like share Tgif with, including some of the ones that I shared earlier today in the transfer presentation. And I really appreciated like your awareness of the transfer community and like really like the specifics of like who is in the transfer community. And I really look forward to hopefully seeing how like transfer students can be involved with sustainability efforts in Tgif in the coming year.
Awesome. Any comments from any council members? Going once, going twice. Okay, if not, can I get a motion, please?
I move to appoint Maddie Wilson to TGIF.
Can I get a second, please?
I second.
Okay, Tay motions, Jane seconds. All in favor, please raise your hands. Okay, I see 11 hands. I don't know if someone dropped off from our call. Prom? Okay, that's 12. By a vote of 12-0, the motion passes and Maddie is appointed to Tgif. Congratulations, Maddie. We look forward to working with you this upcoming year.
Thank you so much.
Yay, virtual class. Okay, folks, we're like halfway done with these appointments. Let's get through them. Great. Moving on again, Miss Jane, you have the floor.
It's Grace. Weird. Hello. So I'll be introducing Grace for Tgif. She is a rising second year with double majors in history and political science. And one of her major commitments is CalPERG. She was the coalitions coordinator this past year. So she was in charge of working with different groups and people across campus. So she understands the importance of including all types of people in sustainability, even if they aren't obvious sustainability orgs, and has experience in doing exactly that, which is amazing for Tgif. And she was also on the campus sustainability committee as an appointment this past year. So she understands sort of the ins and outs of being an appointment and working with people in admin. Yeah, I'll pass it to Grace to introduce herself further.
Okay, hi everyone. I'm Grace. I use she, her, hers pronouns. Rising third year history and poli sci major. Thank you to Rachel for And thank you guys all for being here. I know that there's a lot of us, so we really appreciate you taking your time to talk to us all. It's really great to see all your faces. But yeah, I'm really excited to be here to talk about TGIF. I think it's really awesome, and I've like they said, I was in campus sustainability committee last year and learned so much, and so I'm really excited to like take it to a different sort of avenue. Some of my background is both in USAC and organization. So I did start my freshman year in Office of the President, and then was a director of Gen Rep 3 last year. And then outside of USAC, and then also a sustainability committee, USAC appointment thing. And then outside of USAC, I am in CalPRG, a member of the board, and have been a part of Rotaract for the past 2 years. So I have seen both like USAC and environmental organizations throughout my time, and I love it. And I love to be able to work with students and organizations through those avenues and be able to support amazing projects and focus on people's effect on the environment and how we can change our community. I think it's really important to see students at the front of change. Sometimes it's hard to see students leading that change. I think that it's hard for students to realize that like there are ways around the barriers that we face. You know, there are things like TGIF that can give you resources and mentorship and all the things that students need to have the autonomy to create and work on what they think is important. And that way we can have change coming directly from our own community. And I really feel like when we allow students to create the changes they want to see, then we can actually have a culture change towards sustainability on our campus, which is so important in right now and in the future. And so I'd love to see more visibility for the committee by creating relationships outside of the specifically environmental community by working with, you know, mother orgs, athletes, Greek life, non-environmental organization, and also academics through class announcements and asking professors to share information. This way we can ensure that there is equitable allocation and spread of information and resources, and people can know about this amazing opportunity they have to be able to create the change that they want to see. Because I know that students really do want to see change in our community. It's just sometimes hard to know how to do it. And so, yeah, I just think that TGIF is an amazing resource, and I think everyone should know about it, and I would love to be a part of it.
I love that enthusiasm. Thank you. Okay, can I get any council members that may have questions to ask questions? Emily, we'll start with you.
Hi, Grace. Thank you for being here. I was wondering, like, how do your previous how'd your previous involvements or relationship to sustainability impact how you want to steer TGIF moving forward?
Yeah, as Rachel mentioned, I work specifically like creating coalitions on campus through different student organizations who want to see changes in our community. And one thing that was so important was to this is like a quote from somebody that I talked to, is that break up our silos, that we all live in silos of like our campus involvement. And, you know, it's like environmental orgs, like, and it's so important to break outside of that, that you can't just say that. And I know that like some of the other TGIF people like Cheryl, Maddie, were talking about this too, that everybody can get involved with sustainability. Everybody wants to. And I've seen that come to fruition, that if you just reach out, if you say that here's an avenue for you to get involved, people take it, people want to do it. And you just need to make that first connection. And so, because like I've seen that works, and creating relationships is the best way to make change, to create a community, to like, you know, we have to do it all together. And I would love to bring that to TGIF and sort of like just broaden our scope of what we can do and leave our little silo.
Awesome, Miss J.
Okay, I'm going to ask a different question this time. What is something that you would be excited about for this year in TGIF if you were to be appointed to the committee?
I would just love to see what people come up with. I feel like my brain can't even think about what is like possible for people to come up with, and like students will just create some of the craziest, coolest things ever. And I can't wait to see what it is, and to like be able to be a part of that would be so cool, to like help them through that process of creating change and coming up with whatever. And I think that's really cool that like, you know, we're just so lucky to have this opportunity to like have this huge body of money to support that, and that people can come up with something and totally see it to completion. And that I think would be super exciting to be a part of.
Awesome. Any other questions? No? Okay, well, just want to say, Grace, we appreciate your enthusiasm, at least on my end. Think it's really great because it's a long night. So we appreciate when applicants are very enthusiastic. You are free to give your closing statement.
Okay, awesome. Well, I know that I have said it, but it's an amazing initiative we have, and it has so much potential to do a lot of good for our community. I think that this is one of the best ways to see change, is to give students the power to do it themselves, because that's just super awesome. And so we want to make sure that we get the word out, especially with transitioning back in person. There's going to be so much like information overload for people to try to figure out. And so making sure that we navigate that as best we can and get the word out in, a really equitable way, that we're reaching as many sides of campus as we can. And I think really getting into academics is an amazing way to do that. And then we can get those student projects in motion and really start creating change. So yeah, thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Grace. Can I hear from ARC?
I'll be giving this ARC recommendation. ARC gives a 3-0 positive recommendation for Grace to be appointed to TGIF. We felt that Grace had a really strong, diverse array of experiences in sustainability that, when put together with her passion for sustainability, as well as the drive that she has to share TGIF with a lot of organizations, that she is positioned really well to sit and sort of expand on TGIF. And yeah, I don't know if any of the other two ARC members over there would like to share anything else.
Yeah, I'd love to share. Sorry, my camera's off. My computer's unwell, but I just want to really vouch for Grace. I mentioned this in ARC discussions earlier today, but Grace was in my intern class in the office of the president when we were bright-eyed little freshmen, and I was just so blown away because she, in my opinion, had come up with the best presentation on how to eliminate receipts from dining halls because the chemicals coated on them were not biodegradable, and she had done all this research, and I was like, this girl's going far, and she really has, and I'm so inspired by all of the work that she has done, all of the advocacy and all of the leadership she's shown in CalPERG and other sustainability organizations, and I think she would make a truly phenomenal TGIF committee member, and I'm just really excited to see her flourish and really do great for our community.
Oh, that's so cute. Y'all stay with the wholesome stories today. Okay. Great. I think that with that, we can move straight into a vote. Can I get a motion, please?
I move to appoint Grace to the Green Initiative Fund.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Jane motions, Maya seconds. All in favor, please raise your hands. Prom? Momina? Okay. Okay, we're just gonna say, okay, by a vote of 12-120, the motion passes and Grace is appointed to, sorry, I'm like blinking right now, to the Green Initiative Fund.
And Grace, just for clarification, it would be 12-0-1. We had one abstention, not a rejection, correct?
Yeah, it was an abstention.
So yeah, 12-0-1, just to make the record straight.
Okay, sorry about that, Grace. 12-0-1. Everyone loved you. Congratulations, Grace. We look forward to working with you this upcoming year. Great. Moving straight into, okay. Jane, you have the floor again.
Okay. Thanks, everyone. Okay, I will give it off to Rachel.
This is for Ragini?
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. So Ragini is a rising second year math econ and poli-sci major, and she is this year's Environmental Justice Now director for FAC, which is in charge of Buyer Values, which is an initiative working on improving or in encouraging ethical and sustainable labor at UCLA. And some of her previous experience before that was forming an environmental justice youth organization under the Sunrise Movement, which is a national movement for climate justice and political action. So she really understands the importance of promoting environmental justice within Tgif, which is always something that we're trying to continue to improve on year after year. And yeah, I'll pass it to Ragini to further introduce herself.
Hi everyone, thank you so much for having me here. I'm really excited and for literally staying for over 2 hours. You guys are amazing. So my name is Ragini, my pronouns are she, her. I'm a rising second year, planning to double major in math econ, which is one major, and poli-sci. And growing up, I've always had a big passion for sustainability. I always learned about things like recycling, reducing plastic use, etc. But I think only recently I kind of realized the more environmental justice aspects of it, learning about how certain communities are not only or disproportionately affected, not only by environmental issues, but also by the environmental movements themselves. So this kind of inspired me to lead an environmental justice movement in my hometown. And I sort of tried to carry this on to UCLA by being part of FAC and EVP. And this has just really given me insight into organizing and student advocacy, just seeing all the amazing things that USAC has been able to do. I was particularly drawn to Tgif because of the connection between sustainability and finance as an econ major. But I'm just so excited at the prospect of being able to dictate how thousands of dollars go directly towards students and just their passion projects. The students at UCLA are just amazing, and I've seen so many different environmental groups and the kinds of ideas and projects they have. And I just love the idea of being able to support them and uplift them, not only when it comes to like mainstream environmental projects, but also the more environmental justice projects, especially when these are led by students from the respective underrepresented communities. And so, yeah, I'm really excited to potentially be a part of TJF. And thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Great. Do council members have any questions? I'll start with Cass.
Yeah, my question is, can you tell me about like your vision for TGIF and walk me through like an action plan for that?
Yeah, definitely. I would say that I sort of envision TJF as just being made more accessible and transparent and kind of more communicative with students in the upcoming school year. My knowledge is kind of limited, I know, because I'm only a rising second year, but I know that if I were to just think about what exact projects TJF has done or like has helped fund, I honestly don't know the details. And I feel like there's so much power in being able to like make that more transparent to the public, just so that the student body feels more connected and more students know about what we do and they're more knowledgeable. So I would sort of envision this as, I know social media presence is really great, but just sort of further expanding that, having like weekly or monthly updates on like, what are the different projects we've been funding? Where can you learn more about these projects? How can you maybe get involved in these projects? What is the status on each of these? Like when will they be sort of completed? So that students know what's going on and we can sort of amplify these different projects more. I think it would be really great. And also just sort of streamline the entire process, streamlining the entire process for students working on these projects. I know that sometimes getting funds and giving it to the right projects can maybe take a really long time. So just kind of setting a clear timeline so that they know what to expect. I would sort of envision that.
Awesome. Taylani?
Awesome. Hi again. So my question is, how will you outreach to organizations that may have never applied to TGIF before? And like what ways will you go about promoting TGIF to different niche groups on campus?
I would say that's a really good question, first of all. I think that really requires broadening our definition of sustainability and making sure that, kind of like what I was saying before, it's not, sustainability isn't just like a very mainstream thing, like reducing plastic pollution or whatever, but it's really about environmental justice. So I would sort of try to reach out to different groups and sort of tailor the message of sustainability to their groups and maybe their experiences. If you're talking about like if you're working with a cultural group, especially related to race, and you're talking about different underrepresented communities, and sort of tailoring the message to them to show that, like, we care about, the fact that people of color are disproportionately affected by climate change, and we want to support these student groups more. Maybe also expanding this to different academic groups, like not just environmental groups, but also like urban planning or architectural groups, students who like have the potential to tailor whatever they're doing in their clubs to sustainability, if that makes sense.
Awesome, Arman.
Hi, Ragini. Good to see you again. And, a relatively similar question, but when it comes to outreach, you sort of mentioned like tailoring these things to specific like organizations when it comes to like explaining to them if they've never applied to Tgif before. But I'm curious to know how you would go about like selecting which organizations to outreach to, or what you think would constitute, expanding that, like what sustainability means, and how you would like identify and select those organizations.
Sorry, just to clarify, you mean like identifying which organizations to give funding to, right?
No, to like do the outreach to like educate them on Tgif if they've done like sort of like what Tay mentioned about like not having applied before and like not really understanding what it is. Like if you were to do what you're mentioning now about like doing that targeted outreach, like how you would select those groups or what that process would look like for you.
So I think ultimately I would want to select, I think really like, sorry, I'm just kind of taking a minute to like think about this question. I mean, I think really sustainability can be so embedded in every other kind of social issue, really. So it can very easily be tailored to different groups. Like if you're working with like different Black or African American kind of groups on campus, sort of helping them see how like we want to support them because they are one of the communities disproportionately affected by these issues. So just sort of, because sustainability is so versatile and broad, I think it can really easily be tailored and kind of fit into any sort of a project that you're working on, really, if that makes sense.
Awesome. Any other questions? Going once, going twice. Great. Okay. Can I get your closing statement, sir?
Yeah. So again, thank you so much for having me here. I feel honored. I have so much admiration for all of you for just being here for so long. And ultimately, I would say that my passions really lie in the amalgamation of sustainability, environmental and social justice, but also things like finance, as well as just generally accessibility, especially when it comes to making Tgif and all the money and resources we have more accessible and available to all students, and just sort of furthering that transparency so that students sort of feel like, we are welcoming and we're open to them. And overall, I'm just really excited to potentially learn more with and from the other Tgif members and just build relationships with students and student orgs all across campus. So again, thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Can I get ARC, please?
Yeah, ARC gives 0 to 3 to 0, no recommendation. The reason being is that we just wanted to have an opportunity to ask her more additional questions, but I feel like our questions were asked, and thank you so much for like going to the interview and showing up here today. Did anyone from ARC have any more comments?
I can pop in. Yeah, so I really think like her passion was like awesome. I saw it in the ARC interview and I see it now. I did want a little bit more like more actionable, like I wanted to see like a clear vision of what she wanted to do in TGIF. But hearing her today, I can see like the vision she has, and I also think that being on the committee is will be entirely different in terms of like the learning curve. Like I'm sure she'll like, her passion is there, so the learning should be like easy. I don't know if Jane wants to speak on this, I don't know. But like just like given the fact that her passion is there, I could see the skills is there. And she's been like involved in environmental justice for like, I think the past couple years. So I can definitely see those skills being transferable into the TGIF space. And a lot of the concerns I had during the ARC interview are pretty much settled now that I've had the council interview.
Yeah, I can talk a little bit. I think Ragini, I've gotten to know her a little bit through her work in FAC and otherwise, and I can definitely vouch for her, and I think she'll be a great addition to TGIF. I mean, TGIF is like a huge funding body. It has like $300,000 in Ragini. Like it is only her like second year at UCLA, so it is a lot to learn. But I definitely like, I am going to be the chair of TGIF, and I know Jessica is like our admin rep, and we're going to be doing a lot of trainings to make sure that everyone like kind of understands the ins and outs of dealing with that large of amount of money and how it works logistically. And I think Ragini is very passionate about environmental justice, so I would definitely vouch for her.
Amazing. Can I get a motion, please?
I move to appoint Ragini to the Green Initiative Fund.
Can I get a second?
I second.
Okay, Jane motions, Tay seconds. All in favor, please raise your hands. Great. Sarah?
I just want to clarify, if she's in my office, I have to abstain, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
You're great. Sorry. Okay, by a vote of 12 to, Josh, correct me if I'm wrong, 12 to 0 to 1, the motion passes and Ragini is appointed.
Correct.
Yay.
Thank you so much again.
Congratulations, Ragini. We look forward to working with you this upcoming year. Awesome. Okay, moving straight, Miss Jane, you have the floor again.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, Sam. And by the way, can I think I put it in the chat, but for Cass, can I strike the appointment after Sam Grace because she didn't have the chance to go through ARC yet? But I will give it off to Rachel again. Hello, I'll be introducing Sam. She is a rising third-year public affairs major with a disability studies minor, and she is the FAC Chief of Staff of Access and Infrastructure this year, and she was also involved in Access on Board last year, which is our project focused on all things accessibility. So she has so much experience working with admin for all things related to accessibility on campus. And she was also on UCOD last year, so she has experience being an appointment and understands all of the exact details of what UCOD does in tandem with all the other accessibility work that she's done. And I'll pass it to Sam.
Hi, everyone. I just want to say thank you so much for sitting through this meeting and staying to hear me out tonight. So my name is Samantha Bodger. My pronouns are she, hers. I'm a rising third-year public affairs major and disability studies minor. As a disabled student myself, I've used my time at UCLA to advocate for students with disabilities and improve overall accessibility on campus. Through my firsthand experience, I've seen the necessary barriers that face students who require accommodations. And one of my biggest goals is to alleviate these burdens and create a culture where disabled students aren't required to self-advocate and feel really supported by the administration in order to succeed on campus. Also, through my UCOD appointment last year, I have a unique perspective on how we can optimize our current relationships and roles as a committee to expand the ways in which we advocate for students. I think disabled students currently lack an administrative body that's loud and unwavering and being a voice
for disabled students. And so I foresee UCOD as a chance to expand to be not only an advisory committee to the chancellor and admin, but also an organization that is a voice for disabled students in all facets of our unique identities on campus. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Samantha. Okay, we're moving straight into council Q&A. Erman?
Hi, Samantha. It's so good to see you again. And if you could talk a little bit about what your perspective is on universal access, universal accommodations, and how you think that might factor into the work that UConn can do.
So universal access and universal accommodations, if anyone isn't familiar, is a framework of creating an environment that's accessible. So there really isn't as much of a need for accommodations and for changes to be made for a space or an infrastructure to be accessible for everyone. And so I see a lot of opportunity for UCLA to move to a more universally accessible space for students in the ways that it will benefit everyone, not just disabled students. I think there's right now a lot of the burden and the onus lies on disabled students to do the outreach and to learn all of the different ways in which we have to advocate for ourselves on campus in order to gain accessibility in our accommodations that we need. And so I think there's a lot of room for UCLA to create opportunities for outreach in ways that our campus is accessible and we don't have as much of a need for accommodations, because there's a lot of stress right now being put on our administrative bodies that are responsible for giving us these accommodations. That's a good question. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Ms. Haley?
Hi, Samantha. So my question for you is, how will you ensure that committee initiatives are intersectional and address the diversity of experiences and identities within the community?
Yeah, I think this is something that UCOD in the past has really lacked, is a greater understanding of the different intersections of identities that disabled students and just people with disabilities in general hold. I think I remember having a conversation with someone who was a part of UCOD, and they said to me, or they're like, you know, LGBTQ students have their resource centers and everyone has their resource centers, but there's not a place for people with disabilities. And just talking to them and thinking about how people with disabilities fall into every single sector and different facets on campus, and that it's not just our disabilities are not just unique or they're not all the same. They really intersect with our different identities, and I think that also plays a big role in the accommodations that we need. And I think that's something that I think UCOD can actually really improve upon with some of our, I think a lot of our students within UCOD have a greater understanding of our intersectional identities. I also think it's really important to do a lot of outreach to different communities that our decisions are affecting. I think that's something sometimes people with disabilities, we might feel comfortable making decisions for our community as a whole, where it's I could not tell you what certain communities need because I'm not part of those communities. So I think that's really important for our work.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Samantha. Any other questions from council members? If not, we can move straight into ARC. Your closing statement, sorry.
Yeah. So again, I just want to thank you all for being here and for listening to us all speak about the things that we're really passionate about. So I think the beauty of improving accessibility on campus is that it's beneficial not only to students with disabilities, but to all students. And for too long, students with disabilities have been left out of the important decisions and have been an afterthought on campus. Disability is pervasive on our campus, and it's important to have advocates who will acknowledge the different intersections of disability and the equity of accessibility on campus. As an appointment for UCOD, I will advocate for disabled students, not just in areas where we're typically concerned, such as the CAE, facilities, and infrastructural decisions, but throughout all the unique spaces and identities where we reside, which is all of them. So thank you again.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Samantha. Great. Can I hear up from Ark?
Yes, I'll be giving the R recommendation for Samantha. ARC gives a 3-0 positive recommendation for Samantha to be appointed to UCOD. We really found that she had an incredibly strong vision for the position, as well as an incredibly strong passion and background in order to serve on UCOD. I think we also really appreciated the really expansive and intersectional approach to disability that she brings to the space. And I think that will make her a really great appointment to UCOD. And then I also just want to say, like, on my side of things, I really appreciated, Sam, how you talked about the intersection between transfer students and disability in your ARC interview, and how there are specific disability issues that transfers face, and that you are aware of those. And so I think you'll do a really great job of also representing the interests of disabled transfer students on UCOD. But yes, I'd love to open it up to my fellow ARC members for any other comments.
Yeah, I didn't want to take up too much time, but I loved your interview so much. I think you're super inspiring. I just love your passion, the conviction that you speak with, when you are talking about accessibility, and when you're talking about transparency, equity, inclusion. I can hear it in your voice that you're passionate, and it was just really inspiring interviewing you today. Yeah, I think you would be a great addition to this committee.
Yeah, same here. Just want to add everything Tay and Herman said. I was just so moved by Samantha's interview, and she clearly has a really holistic and comprehensive understanding of the committee and a really great idea of what it means to be intersectional and inclusive in your advocacy. And I have 100% confidence that she will do a phenomenal job. So thank you so much for taking time to speak with us and just applying for this committee.
Thank you. Y'all are so sweet. I appreciate it.
Awesome. Okay. Great. Can I get a motion, please?
I move to appoint Samantha to the University Committee on Disability.
Can I get a second?
I second.
Who was that? Sorry.
Sarah.
Okay. Erman motion, Sarah seconds. All in favor, please raise your hands. No worries. Natalia? Prom? Okay, perfect. By a vote of 12-0 the motion passes and Samantha is appointed to UCOD. Thank you so much, Samantha. We all look forward to working with you this upcoming year. Congratulations. Okay. Before we move on to the next appointment, I want to remind council members that it's very important that you guys turn on your cameras, just because, want to make sure that folks feel that they're being engaged with. And I know we're all tired. I've been up since 3 a.m. So I understand that everyone's tired, but we want to make sure that everyone's being supported in the best environment possible. Thank you so much. So if you can, please turn on your cameras. Great. Moving straight into the next appointment. Okay, Grace got removed. Oh, that's for me. Yay. We're getting through them, besties. Can we go ahead and promote Sam Solemnidad? She's my director. I wonder if she's still here, but besties.
Hello. All right. Should I just get started?
Yeah, go ahead, Sam. You have the floor.
All right. Thank you, Breeze. Okay. Next up, we have Jessica Guzman, who I have the honor of introducing today. Jessica is here as a possible appointee to the Community Activities Committee. We interviewed her recently and were amazed, honestly, not only by her leadership experience on campus, but her incredible work off campus with different communities as well. More specifically, we were inspired by her work with the Latinx community as part of the Latinos/Chicanos for Community Medicine and the Latino Student Health Project. We believe she'll be a great fit for CAC, and I will now let her introduce herself further.
Hello, I am Jessica Guzman. I am an incoming fourth-year student majoring in human biology and society. Over my years at UCLA, I have had the privilege of being part of community service organizations that have allowed me to give me back to the communities similar to the ones where I come from that are riddled with health and education disparities. Before embarking on my journey at UCLA, I used to believe that I had to complete my undergraduate career in order to be able to give back to my communities. But as I have learned at my time at UCLA, that is not true. I have learned that that there are multiple opportunities possible to give back to our communities that are mostly possible due to funding such as the CAC funding, which is why I am highly interested in being part of this committee. Additionally, as a student director this past year who had to deal with a lot of financial matters within my organizations during the whole pandemic, I had to deal with a lot of miscommunication between CAC liaisons and advisors. So I would like to work towards a future where organizations and engagement between the community, advisors, and student organizations is more effective and ease the process as we transition back to a hybrid or in-person format. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, great. Can we move straight into council Q&A? Okay. On my screen, they both popped up at the same time. Jane, Tay, who wants to go first?
You can go first, Jane. Oh, okay. Hi, it's nice to meet you. I just wanted to ask, like, what is something that you would be excited for if you were to be appointed to this position this year?
Something that I would be excited for would be about communicating with the student organizations as we transition back to what I hope is an in-person format. It has been very turbulent times during the pandemic, and I'm pretty sure every student organization who hasn't been able to have contact with their service recipients would be excited to go back. So I would be, I'm super excited to be part of that process of making that happen.
Awesome, Tay.
Awesome. Hi again. So I just wanted to ask, like, why you think CAC is important to have on campus?
Because well, just from my own personal experience, I have seen that it is super important to have these funds available in order to allow the students who want to give back to their communities, allow them to focus their, their experience and skills on giving back instead of having to focus on raising those funds to make such programming possible. This is just one of the many reasons why I believe it is important. CAC supports many multiple organizations going from health, education, homelessness. So without these funds, all these students who have been, doing such great leadership and embarking on battling these disparities would have to focus their, their resources on instead raising funds. But CAC, allows them to just use their skills on site. So that's why I believe it's super important.
Awesome. Haley?
Hello. So I was wondering, how will you achieve maximum, or how will you work to achieve maximum awareness and advertisement of these funds for student-led organizations on campus?
Well, something I noticed was that the CAC Instagram hasn't had a post since November of last year. So I think just making sure to revive that account and, maybe posting, asking from the student organizations who are currently receiving funds from this funding to allow us to post some of the programming that they were able to carry out with this funding in order to show other organizations who may not be completely aware of who qualifies for this funding to see examples on the Instagram page or what they can do. And also just reaching out to the different USAC offices, Instagrams like the internal vice president, external vice president, the president herself, so that they can post this, this Instagram post on their own stories for every other organization who may not be following that account to see.
I love that. And I love that you have a plan to engage with all of our offices. That's amazing. Great. Okay. Are there any other questions from council members? If not, ARC?
Did she give her closing statement already?
I've been up since 3 a.m. Sorry about that. Jessica, your closing statement.
Okay, as you guys may know, service is one of the founding principles of the True Brewing Code, and the CAC Fund assures that every brewing has the opportunity to get involved in service, and the outreach of these funds can improve this even more. Seeing the work that these organizations were able to carry out over the pandemic, despite all the turbulence that was going on, has been truly inspiring. And I would love to be part of the team that helps this happen and part of the team that helps transition these organizations back to an in-person or hybrid format. Being part of this committee would definitely allow me to give back even more to my communities. And learn more about USAC in general. And it will be an opportunity to get more familiar with other organizations that I may not be too aware of their work. And help them work towards a more equitable future within our organizations, community, sorry. But yeah, thank you for taking the time to listen to me today.
Thank you for coming, Jessica, and thank you for staying this long. We really appreciate you. Great. Okay, can we hear from ARC now?
Yeah, from ARC 02320, there was no recommendation. However, the reason being was actually because we just wanted to hear more from Jessica. And for me, I definitely think that her answers from council makes me more confident in her as for this appointment and everything. And so I think she'll do an amazing job just reaching out to like student organizations from a broader scope. And yeah, does anyone from ARC want to add on?
Yeah, I can jump in. I agree. I think one of the things that I was looking for was some more tangibles, and I think Jessica definitely showed some like really concrete steps to be taken for the position. And I also want to say that this is noted during the ARC interview, but also during this interview. I feel like you can really tell that like you care about service so deeply, and like making sure that there is so much more expanded access to service. And I think that conviction will definitely take you really far in this position. So yeah, thank you again, Jessica.
Amazing. Okay. Can I get a motion, please?
I move to appoint Jessica.
Can I get a second?
I second.
Jane motions, Armand seconds. All in favor, please raise your hands. Okay. Let's see. I think I'm missing Tay. Awesome. By a vote of 13-0-0, the motion passes and Jessica's appointed. Congratulations, Jessica. Look forward to working with you personally as you're my appointment and also all of council. Congrats.
Thank you so much.
Yay. Okay. Clarissa has been moved up. So Gladys, if you're here.
Hello, everyone. So I hope you're all having a good night or wherever you are. I wanted to introduce Simran, who I'm also, Simran, if you're on the Zoom, if you could let me know. Oh yes, now I see her.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just wanted to introduce Simran. We were really excited to be able to interview her and just hear everything that she had to say. We were especially impressed with her experience already serving on CAC, especially during COVID-19, and just the passion that she has for finances ever since high school and just like carrying that forward now into undergrad. We were really excited to hear about some of her proposals and ideas going on to CAC for this year, including committee office hours and also strengthening liaison ties. And with that, I'll hand it off to Simran.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. My name is Simran. I'm a rising senior majoring in MIMG and minoring in 3 minors, which is insane, but it's global health, society and genetics, and community engagement. I'm interested in being on the community activities committee because I truly had a wonderful experience last year, even though it was COVID and it was online. But I got the exposure to witness what happens behind the scenes, which was like my ultimate reason why I wanted to join CAC in the first place, and also being able to work with UCLA organizations that are committed to initiating changes to happen for the disadvantaged communities. I didn't even know that CAC actually did that. I wasn't aware of the liaison committee when I first joined, so that was a wonderful experience as well. And the committee really intertwines my passion with finances and also working alongside underserved communities. And I've learned an immense amount from these organizations of how to find the needs and how to like actually work alongside these communities as well, because I have a passion for that. And I've actually been into organizations at UCLA that really pertain to that. So I think I learned a lot. And I hope to build on that relationship and gain knowledge by being on the committee once again, if selected.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Simran. Great. We will now move into council Q&A period. Herman, then Tay.
Hi, it's good to see you again. I was wondering if you can articulate your understanding of the transfer community and some of the access needs that they have experienced in this past year.
For sure. So personally, being on CAC and being like, you know, during COVID, we didn't really have a lot of opportunities like to really work. As I mentioned before, like revamping the liaison committee was really important and crucial for me. So the reason why was because like we only attended general and board meetings and we didn't really have that connection to really build with each member or each board member. And I think with, you know, as you know, responding to your question personally, with the transfer community, I personally never actually worked with them. And I think it's really important for me to like gain more understanding about that. And I think I know about 2 to 3 organizations on campus, you know, related to transfer students and how they're, you know, actively involved in those, especially like with Transfer Med, because I am pre-med student. So I'm very familiar with that organization. But making sure that, you know, as you mentioned in your presentation, there's a lot of restrictions, especially for like transfer students being here at UCLA for only 2 years, and they don't really have that access to be involved very quickly as other undergraduate students, and that really puts them behind. And another thing is like, you know, just being overwhelmed with the amount of academics that they have to do, but also like, you know, just having 2 years at a very big public university. When I came in as a freshman, I did not know where to begin. So, I mean, I assume like, you know, transfer students don't either. So just being able to be there as a resource, I think that's really what I want to work on, especially when it comes down to revamping the liaison committee. So just a little background about that too. With the liaison committee, that's just another committee under CAC committee. So we as committee members also have to be a liaison. And with that comes alongside like the responsibilities of ensuring, you know, you attend general meetings and board meetings for certain organizations that you're passionate about working with. And just making sure that you're, you know, there as a support system, and also just like a middleman between that organization and also like, you know, the advisors for the committee. So I think I just want to personally, you know, one, raise awareness for myself and like actually see, and your presentation was great. I think I learned a lot from it too, but just raise more awareness for myself of like how there's so many struggles and challenges for these transfer students, and hopefully like, you know, as being on a liaison committee, you have the opportunity to like, you know, work with certain organizations I mentioned before. So I really want to make sure that that's one move that I do go forward with, and just hopefully be a resource, because I've learned a lot. I'm a 4th year, so hopefully I can be some sort of help for the transfer community and hopefully be more than just finances. And I really want to make sure that, you know, that's like emphasized too. Like CAC is just not about finances. I think we also worked a lot with like, you know, creating internal socials for us and like just to build that relationship also within committee members. So I think just really emphasizing the fact too that, you know, we can also be helpful in other aspects too, you know, maybe like, you know, relate to pre-med or relate to like other disciplines. So hopefully that answered that question, but that's my response for that.
Awesome. Tay and then Haley.
Awesome. Hi, Simran.
Hey.
So basically my question is, you know, given that you served on the campus activities committee during COVID where everything's virtual, how will you kind of tweak your outreach methods now that we'll be in person to kind of reach more folks, outreach to more committees and helping them apply to the committee, if that makes sense? I can repeat that question. A little tired.
That makes sense. Yeah. So during COVID, we actually had a lot of like strategies that we wanted to implement, but because of like the timeline and the structure and like being on the committee after, I think we like got selected, all of us, pretty late. So we just got straight into business mode and like went through like, hearing proposals and like allocating decisions and stuff like that. So we didn't really have time to like, build a lot internally. But I think one thing that we did come up with is like social media platform that, yes, like I mentioned, Instagram. We only have one post. Yes, we had 3. I don't know what happened to the other 2 posts. But I think maybe like, going off of that, if we wanted to start off that essentially just because during COVID, we knew that a lot of people being online are going to be on, their social media platforms all the time. So hopefully, that can build some awareness for CAC. Hopefully we can like obviously like revamp that as well because we only have one post. And I think that would also be a great way to like, get more engagement from the UCLA students. Another thing that I really, really wanted to start since last year actually was to host workshops. And these workshops were like not very like, we could have done them online to be honest, but I think within our committee, there were just so many challenges already, but we didn't have that, space to really, make sure that we allocated that. So I really want to make sure that we're hosting workshops, hopefully if we're in person, even if we're online, again, I think I really want to emphasize that fact. Because I think a lot of people are just unaware, especially new organizations. I mentioned this over and over again, like in my previous interviews too, but they're just unaware that CAC exists. And I think and I know, yes, I mentioned this too, but there are so many organizations that get a lot from this fund, especially because it's $10,000. That's a lot. And also I think it doesn't limit a lot of organizations to like, go out and, serve their population of their interest. And it really brings a lot for them and a lot of volunteer for their members as well. So hopefully, like by hosting these workshops, we can be beneficial in terms of like, outreaching CAC and being a support system for all of them, and also going through the lengthy application is another thing. I think some people, or even some organizations, to be honest, just get very intimidated by looking at the application. It is pretty lengthy. So just, being there step by step and like ensuring that, you can go through the process. And there's like multiple ways. There's also another facet where like, certain organizations do take a lot of their material or content that they had in the previous years and copy and paste that, which is also fine. But I think that's just something that I also want to work on. That's a con from my end because I feel like that's not fair for the new organizations, but that's besides the point. But I think I would just say increasing our accessibility on social media platforms, hosting workshop is another one. And then hopefully like through the liaison committee, hopefully if that's like revamped a little bit more for the academic year, hopefully, we can like reach out to certain organizations. And also I think outreaching in the sense of like, being in your own organizations. I'm involved in a lot of organizations at UCLA. So hopefully, like, through that, I can also outreach about CAC. And like, I do let people know, like, you should apply to CAC because I think it's really important, but I think maybe outreaching from that lens is also going to be beneficial too.
Haley?
Hi, Simran. Okay, so I'm pretty sure like you answered this like multiple times, but I'm just like wondering, what are you excited for in serving in the committee this school year, just given that the majority of like students are going to be new to campus for the first time? So love to hear.
Yeah, for sure. I think the number one thing that I'm really excited about is, I love finances and I love being on CAC, but I think I really want to broaden that aspect and like actually reach out to other funding bodies. And I know somebody also mentioned this, I don't remember her name, but creating that group me, I think I'm not personally like aware of like how group me is going to work, but like, maybe having another like internal collaboration or like some sort of like internal socials within the funding bodies would also be nice, because it's not just about finances that you're doing within the committee. I think it's more than that. I think also have to like, be aware that there's also relationships within committee members. I think that also should be emphasized too. So hopefully, through the other funding bodies, if we have that opportunity to like actually get to know other people, like, maybe through like maybe in like CPC or Tgif or something like that. So hopefully, I can build that relationship with other people too, because I think I was just very restricted to just knowing my own committee members, and like the advisors were in charge of like, reaching out to other funding bodies or funding committees. So I think that's like one thing I'm really excited about. So hopefully we can do that. And also we started internal socials within the committee members. So that's the reason why I'm really excited. I think in the previous years, our advisor mentioned that it was like purely based on like, people not hopping on a Zoom, but like people, coming together in person and actually just like, going through the allocation process and hearing process. And so it's only restricted to finances. But now, like during COVID, because our committee members, like, we were so close with one another, we actually did a lot of social. So that was really, really fun. So hopefully we can like continue that for CAC as well, which is nothing related to finances, but I think it's also really crucial just to, build those relationships. So I'm excited about that. And then also, again, hopefully revamping, I really emphasize this too, because I really, really want to work with other UCL organizations. I learned a lot from them. I didn't even know half of them existed. So that says a lot too. So that was really, really helpful as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Okay. Can I get your closing statement, Simran?
Yes, you can. I just want to say thank you for this opportunity and for your time. I can't even imagine how much longer you guys have to be here. But I really want to emphasize that if I'm selected, I hope to implement certain strategies that can be beneficial internally and externally for CAC. And I really hope to continue expanding on the logistics for the CAC application, maybe like, changing a little bit here and there. And also to meet wonderful organizations through the liaison committee. As I mentioned before, that I didn't even know some of them existed. So yes.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Simran. Great. Can I hear from ARC now?
From ARC 32020, we have a positive recommendation. We believe that she can use her institutional knowledge from CAC last year to strengthen CAC this year. And yeah, did anyone from ARC have anything to add on?
Yeah, I can jump in. I think I really appreciate it as well, Simran, how you articulated that you really want to serve in like a mentorship type role. And I think that the vision that you have for the liaison committee in particular is really, really valuable. And I think that students will feel really supported through going through that process, like knowing that they have someone that's going to be really intentional about mentorship. And then I also wanted to say that I really appreciated your like acknowledgement of like needing more education about the transfer community, and that I look forward to hopefully having CAC be a place that is a welcoming and accessible place for transfer students. And yeah, thank you again for your time and for going through this interview process.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Do any other council members have anything to say? Going once, going twice. If not, can I get them? Okay.
Oh, sorry. Don't want to take up too much time, but I just wanted to say that I actually was lucky enough to participate in this like link cohort.
Oh, okay, awesome. Can I?
Oh shoot, am I cutting out?
Yeah, I was like, I just thought when you said that, I was like, okay, cool.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Okay, I'm so sorry. Anyway, TLDR, I'm a fan of Simran. She is so thoughtful, so amazing. I know she'll do a great job. Sorry about the technical difficulties.
Momina?
Also wanted to second that. Simran's gonna be in my office next year, so I'll be abstaining, but definitely looking forward to working with her in CSC and beyond in other service spaces. Really impressed, and yeah.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, I was. Oh, I guess they're going. Y'all, okay. Tay?
Oh, I'm so sorry. I know that we want to end it, but I just cannot. I just love Simran so much. We work together in CAPSA. This girl's a powerhouse. I don't know how she's doing all of this stuff. I really don't. But like, she is going to do CAC so well, so good. I'm excited for her. So I kept it short and sweet. Sorry, y'all.
Pasa?
Yeah, so I guess I have to disclose that Simran also applied to work in my office, and her application looked really great. We're still figuring some stuff out, but I guess like I'll have to abstain as well. So.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much, everyone. Can I go ahead and get a motion?
I move to appoint Simran Athwell to CAC.
Okay, can I get a second?
A second.
Who was the first motion? I'm like, I don't know. Tay, okay. Tay motions, Emily seconds. All in favor, please raise your hands. Okay, I'm going to say that that's 10, and we're going to leave it at 10. Great. All abstaining? So it's 2, 3. Okay, I think that makes sense. All against? Okay, perfect. So by a vote of 10 to 0 to 3, the motion passes and Simran is appointed. Congratulations, Simran. We really
Thank you so much. And Taylani, I didn't miss you. I just missed your deadline for SWC, so I'm so sorry. But thank you so much, everyone.
Great. That concludes appointments for tonight. Yay. Great. I'll keep my officer report short and sweet. And again, I want to tell council members, please go ahead and link your reports. If not, I'm going to call on you guys. Great. So I want to start off by just saying, okay, for on our end, we released applications for FSLCC staff. We're currently going through the process of like reviewing all of our projects and seeing how we want to make sure that we're working UC wide as well as within UCLA to make sure that we can accomplish everything. Yeah, I love FSLCC and looking right now at how they're going to expand the fellowship. We also opened up an Instagram for the Student Advocate Board. I did. And yeah, so you guys y'all can go ahead and follow. We will be posting pretty soon. So once I get that post out, just to let students know that, the service is available. And currently just going through, again, finishing up a lot of cases. I have 7 this week. So that's been quite a lot, but just the preparation for it. Yeah, stop, Jane, no. Anyway, moving on to Miss Cassandra.
Okay, for me, I'm continuing to meet with student organizations about their goals and their plans so I can connect with them to my office or just any resource they need. So recently I just met with the Life Science Student Association president, and tomorrow I'll be meeting with Samahang Filipino, APC, and Bruin Shelter. And then also this week, my finance directors will be meeting with FICOM so we can try to figure out how to best inform student organizations about the different funding. I just released USAC IVP staff applications and they close August 15th, I believe. That's this Sunday. And also in terms of marketing, I feel like my office marketing directors are doing an amazing job. They just made an infographic about how to navigate USAC council meetings. So everything about the agenda and the Zoom link is there. I also recently met with Haley to discuss a mental health resource guide that both of our offices will be working on. And we're hoping to push that before fall quarter. I also met with the CSA vice chair to discuss the vision and plans for the upcoming school years. And then recently worked on the USAC statement in support of undocumented students in collaboration with UCLA Ideas. And we'll get into that later. Okay, I'll pass it off to EVP Sarah.
Hello. Okay, so 3 things for today. First, I just want to present some updates from the August UCSA board meeting. So first we had elections, and this year's UCSA president is Esme, the EVP from UC Santa Barbara, and our president is Josh Lewis from UC Berkeley. But our vice chair is actually Divine Johnson, who is my chief of staff, so super proud of her. Other than that, things related to UCSA, we are currently recruiting for system-wide committee opportunities. So those are still open and rolling. Still working on the tuition increase. And we're actually also preparing a letter at the UC-wide level in response to the Texas DACA ruling. So when that does come out across the UCs, we'd love all of y'all's support. That kind of leads into my next thing. Student Organizing Summit is happening on September 4th, 2021. It's a super, super important opportunity for us to really represent as our UCLA UCLA delegation. This is where we choose the campaign goals for the 4 campaigns: Fund the UC, Racial Justice Now, Acquire, and UC We Vote. And applications are out on the EBP page. So if you guys could share that to your offices and in your circles, that would be super appreciated. And please feel free to reach out if you have any other questions. And then last thing is just, as you all may know, the recall is coming up. Some important dates to be aware of here. August 16th, everyone should receive their ballot in the mail if they are eligible to vote. Voter registration deadline is August 30th, and this election will be happening on the 14th. And this is super important because it can affect, obviously, our governor, also our Senate, control of the Senate between the 2 parties. And then I do believe I have to remind council members that in our official capacities as council, I don't believe we can like be partisan in our outreach. So we are trying to be strictly informational, telling people how to vote, where, when, etc., and not who to vote for. In your personal lives and circles, that's a different story. But yeah, please do your best to get the word out about the recall so that we can really up student turnout. And that is it for me. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Sarah. So I know Andy's not here. Is Prom here?
Hi, I am. Sorry, it's a little loud where I am, or in my apartment right now. I apologize. But I can give a quick update because I know I did not put in a written statement. Give me one quick second.
And also, Prom, we can come back to you if anything. Miss Jane?
Hello, sorry, I just didn't have time to write something out, but I will be really quick. So in the last couple of weeks, we have finished up hiring and we sent out our staff acceptances today, which is super exciting. I had a meeting with environmental health and safety, and we talked about how we could potentially collaborate and some things that are changing with COVID and the Delta variant and everything like that. And then I talked to Breeze and Angie and Quinn a bit about like a potential referendum. And then something that is super exciting is that I had a meeting with some people from UCLA Dining and the Vice Chancellor of UCLA Housing and Hospitality, and he agreed to fund a reusable, to commit $150,000 to funding a reusable container pilot program on the Hill to replace the current compostable containers we have to reduce UCLA's waste, which I'll be talking about a little bit more later in a resolution. Shout out to Josh for helping with that and helping us prep with that. I also had a meeting last week with AAC and DSU and the Center for Accessible Education, where we talked about the priority enrollment decision that we talked about a little bit at council before. And basically the CAE is in the process of drafting a proposal that we are going to help with in order to try and propose to Academic Senate to reverse that decision. So we're going to help them out with that. And then also we had another meeting with the CAE, sorry, this is so long, specifically about note-taking and note-taking accommodations for students with disabilities at the university. So we learned a lot about like some of the like tech related options for that, yeah. And then I attended another climate resistance workshop specifically with climate leaders at UCLA. So we got to talk to the Office of Sustainability and some like professors, which was really exciting to talk about. Hopefully we can have more discussions based on that. And then so also coming up, I have a meeting to talk about a reusable mug program that Lily Shaw had actually started. So I'm really excited about that in Kirkhoff. And then Angie and I are continuing to work on setting up a committee together to implement more disability justice within AAC. And I'm talking with Quinn, the president of DSU, or like one of the co-founders, and the 88504 compliance officer tomorrow. And Angie and I also had a meeting someone from the Center for Advancement of Teaching, I think, about accessibility in education. So yeah, and we are also sort of discussing options for our reusables pilot. And then also I will be out of town for like the next 2 weeks, so I'll be slightly less responsive. Thanks, guys. Oh, also we did the appointments. Yeah.
Thank you, Jane. Awesome. Jack? If she's not able to.
You said CAC? I wasn't sure.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Hi, everyone. Sorry that I couldn't turn my camera on. My Wi-Fi has been going a bit haywire. My day's been a bit crazy. So yeah, but I've been here the entire time. I did want to just give a little update about what's been going on in CAC. So over the past few weeks, I have been working with my internal directors to get ready for the school year, as well as working with my directors of the ARC initiative that I'm starting this year, and just figuring out how we are structuring everything. And we've already, we've set our dates for our social media rollout, and just getting ready to launch the initiative for the student body. I've been working alongside Maya very closely on Bruin Bash over the past few weeks as well. And we're far in the discussions about everything, and something that we are discussing and considering a lot more currently is kind of how to ensure safety as to the best of our ability with the rising in COVID, COVID infections again. So just trying to figure that out and trying to make everything as safe as possible. And yeah, just getting ready for the school year, preparing for hiring for the fall. And yeah, just preparing for everything and just working. So that's everything from me. Was I supposed to say something else?
Did we lose Breathe?
Oh.
Cassandra, do you want to continue the meeting?
Yes, what happened?
I think we lost Breeze until she logs back on.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
I'm back. Sorry. I'm gonna
Okay.
be finishing the meeting from my phone because the Wi-Fi just went off completely. So I'll be finishing the meeting from my phone. Where are we in the agenda right now?
Promise just finished. So we have
The ISR report, right?
International rep. Yep.
Okay. You have the floor, Natalia. Twice. No. Okay. Awesome. So we will be moving straight to admin reps. Jessica?
No updates from me. Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you. George? And I don't know if he's not here because I'm on my phone. I don't think he was here, right? Awesome. Josh?
So I just have two things that I want us to think about for the whole committee. One, we do need to make a decision in the next meeting or two on whether our fall meetings are going to be in person or Zoom, so that Jessica and Fernando can start planning or booking space. The second thing that I want to remind folks if we are looking at a calendar, our next meeting is on the 23rd. The following meeting is on September 6th, which is Labor Day. We will not be meeting on September 6th. So from appointments and work, you as a council may need to either do a meeting on the 30th or on the 13th. So I just want to put that on your radar, as the 6th is a holiday and we cannot meet on a holiday.
Sorry, my freaking phone's acting up now too. Okay. Josh, would we vote on that right now or would we wait?
So you all can, we have until next week. I'm sorry, the 23rd. So if you all want to talk offline about it, I don't want to put you on the spot right now. If you have a decision right now, yes, we can vote that in right now, or before the end of this meeting, or we have to make a decision on the 23rd.
Okay. Well, since Angie has a lot of Senate appointments coming up, I think that maybe we can wait until she's present just to make that decision, because I think like it would make sense for her to like have like, I guess, a bit more say in this discussion.
Sure.
Awesome. Okay. Sorry. Great. Orlando?
Hello, everyone. No updates.
Awesome. Fernando? Awesome. Thank you, Fernando. I need to follow up actually on that discussion because I'm a bit confused on my end, but I will email on the side. Great. Okay, so Angie's not here, so we will be skipping old business, moving straight to new business. Cassandra, you have the floor.
Okay, I'm going to link the statement in the chat. And do y'all need me to like share my screen or read it out loud? It's like a page long. Actually, I don't know if you guys want me to read it out loud because time. So I'm gonna just share my screen. Also, let me know when you guys are ready to discuss. Wait, did someone say something?
Yeah,
I can't really hear.
Wait, can you hear me, Cass?
Yeah, kind of. It's just kind of like bugging, but it might be like on me.
Okay. Yeah, I think that looks really good, and I think that this motion is very important. Statement overall. I don't know how the rest of council feels, but I think that it would be very important for us to sign on to this. And thank you, Cass, and of course, ideas, Jeffrey, love you, for like creating this.
Of course. Okay, I'm gonna stop sharing my screen. I'm not sure like how we go about this because it's like a statement, like do we have to vote or just people just sign on? But
because it's a statement, we can just sign on.
Okay, I'm gonna send it in the chat for people to sign on right now because I do hope to publish a statement as well on the USAC IVP pages. And it would be greatly appreciated if y'all can sign onto this because as y'all know, the recent ruling has affected many communities that are undocumented or immigrants. And so we just need to stand with our fellow Bruins. And as council members, I think it's super important. Wait, I think I need to send like an edit right link and
Cass,
y'all
you can
should be
also
able
just
to
do.
sign.
Okay. Yeah, that works too.
Yeah, because I'm not sure like who wants to sign on to it. So I'm gonna just send it in the chat.
I think it's view only. I could be wrong though.
Okay, I think I updated it again. But if not, if you want to sign on to it and you can't, just like say it in the chat and then I'll add you.
Sorry if this is a dumb question, but are we doing constitutional order?
Yeah, I got confused by that too. But I was like, it's whatever. Yeah. Okay. Great. Does anyone have any other comments to say? Or we can move on. Like I got work at 4 a.m. bestie, so I'm trying to dip. Okay, great. Moving straight into next Jane's resolution in support of reusable dining.
Yes, hi. Cass, would you be able to share screen to show it and then I will just talk about it like very quickly.
Yeah, I clicked the link in the agenda and it says that I need access to it.
Oh, hang on. I will change that right now. Okay, sorry, I'm changing that right now. Sorry. Okay. It should be good now, Cass, if you refresh it. And I will do the bylaw one too, Fernando.
Okay, I'm gonna share my screen.
Okay, awesome. So I'm just gonna go through this really quickly. I won't read the whole thing. I want to shout out SAR and my directors and Aaron, who's the sustainability manager for UCLA Housing, for helping a lot on this. But this is basically a resolution to support reusable diningware at UCLA. So UCLA during non-COVID provides about 16,000 meals a day, and in specifically just in takeout locations, and this generates around 210,000 pounds of waste per year and costs the university approximately $180,000 per year. And so the Office of the President released a recent policy for all universities part of the UC system to replace things like single-use plastic and to provide reusable services by July 1st, 2022. And so students and staff have created and presented a proposal to UCLA Housing and Hospitality to switch to reusable diningware and utensils. And so not only is this more sustainable, but according to our approximate financial calculations, which have been done by Aaron, that this saves the university approximately almost $57,000 in the first year alone, and then $110,000 every year for the years after. And then you can scroll down. Cass, and then this also reduces the waste that's produced by 210,000 pounds per year, and that also aligns with the UC Sustainable Practices Policy that aims for 50% waste reduction by 2030, and other large universities such as San Diego, Dartmouth, and UW-Madison have implemented these programs successfully. So this is just to urge Housing and Hospitality to continue supporting this program and fund not only a pilot program, but a permanent reusable container program that would allow us to be more sustainable and save money. And a lot of student orgs like STAR have done a lot of research into reusable diningware and reusable utensils along with bags. So this is something that we're all really excited about. And if anyone wants to know more about it or get more involved, you can let me know.
This is Jane, and love everything that you're doing so far. You are amazing. Great. Can we get a motion? Or if anyone wants to, type of Jane, now's a great time to do that. Okay, if you need a motion, please.
I move to pass the resolution in support of reusable diningware at UCLA. I don't know if I said that.
Can I get a second?
A second.
Okay, I think that was Emily, but I'm correct me if I'm wrong. I believe so it was Maya, right? Did I get that right? Okay, Maya.
Yeah.
And then, okay. Sorry, friends, I'm on my phone. By a vote of 1, 2. By a vote of 13-0, motion passes and resolution is approved. Yay. Great. Moving on, we have the floor again for a bylaw change.
Wait, is it me again? Sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yes, Cass, would you be able to share the bylaw change? Sorry, everyone. I will stop talking after this.
Yeah, I'll share my screen.
Okay, basically, the only thing this bylaw change does is add UCOT appointments to the list of stipended appointments. That's all.
Do we have to vote on this? Or is it just like?
Yeah, any bylaw change does need an active vote.
Okay, awesome. Can I get a motion, please? Yeah, CRC. Yes. CRC, you have the floor.
Should I do it?
Yeah, I think it was Maya that just spoke. I'm sorry again, I'm on my phone, but yes, Maya.
Okay, so CRC's recommendation for this bylaw change was 4-0, or sorry, 3-0 to 1 vote in favor of the bylaw change.
Awesome. Okay. Anyone want to discuss? CRC or outside of CRC? If not, I can get a motion.
Reese, I think Sarah's hand is up.
I thought that hand was up since before.
Sorry. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, cool. Does someone want to make a motion then?
I move to approve the FAC bylaw changes.
Can I get a second? Okay. Airman motions, promise seconds. All in favor, please raise your.
I second.
Dang, I was muted this whole time. By a vote of 13-0, the motion passes. And the bylaw change is approved. Awesome. And Erman, you are closing us off tonight.
Yay, we're almost done, y'all. Hi again. Thank you so much for your patience. Love you all. Okay, let me share my little screen. Okay, more bylaw changes. I will just summarize them. This first bylaw change is adding the transfer success team to the bylaws that the TSR has to report to TST at their meetings about office progress. We added an entire section on transfer representation at UCSA and in the EVP office, just so that there is more streamlined communication between our offices when it comes to important external events such as Transfer Lobby Day, and sort of just cement some of the collaborations that we've already sort of been establishing between TSR and EVP offices. The next bylaw change clarifies the way that we will be informing student body about the transfer student body in particular, excuse me, about council. And it also includes that there should be a reference to the TSR internal bylaws so that there's like more detail and more information there about some of the specific logistics, but just clarifying. The next one includes a specific transfer like TSR appointee to CSA. And then we also include specifics about the TSR committee. So it sort of institutionalizes what the TSR office should have every year moving forward in order to fully address the office goals. And then finally, I add my transfer appointment to the Undergraduate Education Initiatives College Faculty Executive Committee so that I can make that appointment formally. But yeah, those are my bylaw changes.
Awesome. Okay, wait, our hands up because y'all are. Oh my gosh, this is so bad. Okay, our hands, because one already, our hands up because we have questions.
Oh, I have a question, or like just for discussion.
Okay, for sure.
Okay, I did notice that the CSA section was on there, and actually like one of the goals that CSA was talking to me about just recently was just restructuring itself and like the bylaws, and so they would have appreciated if you were able to just talk to them and join in on their conversation about like adding things to the CSA bylaws. And then also just for clarifications, when it says appoint, does it mean like an actual appointment, like they go through ARC, or like? Okay.
Yeah, I can clarify that. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that, Cass. Yeah. So the first thing that I want to say is that these bylaw changes were actually first passed by like approved by CRC last year by Zuleika. They were just never brought to council. So my assumption had been that Zuleika had like clarified all of those things with CSA by the first time that it had been cleared by CRC, and I'm just sort of like representing them since they never like went through a council vote to like actually be implemented. So yeah, I apologize for not double checking on that. Since yeah, I should have made that assumption, and I appreciate that. I'll be clear with that moving forward with CSA. And then there's the difference between like the appointments that require like the full like appointment process, and those are listed specifically in the appointment section of the USAC bylaws. So if you look at like the entire TSR bylaws, there's like sections that are like internal appointments. So they're like unofficial appointments that are just basically like a TSR representative that goes to those committees in order to have the TSR office like represented there, and like so that we're aware of what's going on in those committees. And those are separate from the like action item ones for USAC that require approval, such as like Senate or like all the other ones for ARC. And so this one is basically just another one of those like internal appointments where it's like someone from the office would like attend CSA meetings. We had someone from the office like just going to CSA meetings every CSA meeting last year. It just wasn't like formalized that there is an expectation that someone from TSR should be going to CSA every meeting. So it's less so like a formalized like role that has to also be in CSA's bylaws. It's more so like an understanding that there will always be like that transfer point person at CSA. Does that clarify that?
Yeah, thank you so much for like clarifying everything and like how it was like introduced last year. That helps a lot. So I think it can like ease all of like CSA concerns. I'll touch base with them.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Casa. I can make sure to follow up too.
Okay, awesome.
Can I
Do
ask a
other
quick
council members
question?
have? Who was that? Sorry.
Sarah.
Okay, go.
Yeah. Well, first, thank you so much, Imran, for putting all this together. I'm really excited to officially formalize the partnership between our offices. I'm just curious for your appointment to the UCSA Transfer Coalition. Do I need to add a respective bylaw change for my office as well for that appointment, or will yours suffice?
So this is a conversation that Zuleika did have with Aiden last year about that. And their conversation resulted in that EVP didn't have to change anything in their bylaws as long as it was in the TSR bylaws. And since it says that like the bylaw here, let me share my screen again, just so this is easier to explain. The coordination with the external vice president is like in the same relationship with the appointment / representative role to UCSA. It was under like, it was my impression that there was no respective EVP bylaw change that was necessary. I think that the only thing that might be I guess a cause for concern is if in the future is that EVP like passing on the information to the TSR like you've done with me about that appointment. But since this bylaw change also specifically says that there will be a student liaison to the office of the EVP, that should solve like the issues of communication regardless of who future EVPs and TSRs are. So that was my understanding of the translation of that bylaw change, if that answers your question.
Yeah, perfect. And then is this an appointment that goes through council, or it's just through EVP, right?
Yeah, so that's another one of those like internal appointments where like I would basically communicate with you, like this is a like the student from the TS office that will be like facilitating those communications between our two offices.
Okay, amazing. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Okay, so from there, where do you guys want to go? Like, is there still indecision? Are we going to vote for something? I guess Cass, Sarah, Irma, like, do y'all have an idea of how you guys want to go about this? Is everyone comfortable voting for this bylaw change?
Oh yeah, I'm comfortable. That's why I said thanks for the clarification.
Same here.
So what happens
was that the
next?
case of heaven?
Are we waiting for
was
a
crossfaded.
motion? What's going on?
I can give the CRC recommendation. There was a 4-0 vote in favor of the bylaw change.
Did we
Okay.
lose
Ye-
Breeze?
Yeah.
So Cassandra, do you want to then call for a motion?
Yeah. Can I get a motion?
Hello.
Okay, Breeze is back.
Okay. Awesome. Where are we? I'm so sorry about that, guys. I was calling for CRC and it broke off.
Yep, we got CRC 4-0, and now we are moving to a motion. So Cassandra just called for a motion, and we're just waiting for that.
Oh, okay, perfect.
I move to approve the TSR bylaw changes.
Can we get a second?
A second.
Okay, Maya and Haley, right?
Yeah.
Perfect. Maya motions, Haley seconds. All in favor, please raise your hands. Oh, Prom and Natalia?
My hand's up.
Okay, let's see. Okay. All abstaining? Herman, are you abstaining or did you plan to
Oh,
vote
I thought
yes?
my hand was up. Sorry. It was yes.
Okay, cool. Then by a vote of 13-0, the motion passes and the bylaw change is approved. Yay. Okay, I think that closes off our night. What time is it? Let's see on my phone. Damn, does anyone know the time? Sorry, I'm like
10:38.
10:38. Okay. I move to adjourn the meeting at 10:38 p.m. Yay.
Recording stopped.
Okay. I don't know if folks want to do good